I actually loved it. I loved the discipline because I didn't really have it growing up. I had some discipline and I knew right from wrong. My mother taught me a lot and I knew the basics, right? But I didn't really know what discipline really was. So once I found out, oh, wow, if you really can apply this to yourself, you can really do anything. And you can accomplish anything with the discipline to get the small steps done. That's what I liked about the Marine Corps. The basics in that just it gave me a discipline I didn't think I had in myself.
This episode is brought to you by Trident Coffee, the veteran-owned brand where every sip inspires you to live life full steam ahead. I've been drinking their coffees for a while now, and I'm glad to partner with a company whose products I use. At Trident, they're more than just coffee. They're storytellers. Crafted by veterans, their instant cold brew is perfect for those who serve, those who have served, and anyone who values wellness. Featuring natural ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics, it's more than just a morning pick-me-up. It's your new wellness ritual. Enjoy it at home or on the go, wherever your day takes you. Trident Coffee isn't just about great tasting coffee. It's about empowering you to be the healthiest version of yourself, because great veterans make great citizens. Try their instant cold brew today, along with many other coffee products, and taste the freedom of wellness. Remember, when you choose Trident, you're not just choosing coffee, you're choosing a path of connection through health and wellness. Head on over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. Again, that's TDP15 for 15% off your order. This episode is brought to you by Soflete, a tactical fitness company founded by special operations soldiers. Soflete is dedicated to helping you achieve a healthy lifestyle. From expertly crafted training programs to high-quality proteins, pre-workouts, and sleep and recovery supplements, they've got everything you need to power through your day. Soflete also has a full line of clothing. They have you covered from shorts to cold weather gear. Embracing the motto, Die Living, Soflete inspires us all to embrace life with vigor and resilience. So take the first step towards a healthier you. Visit soflete.com, that's SOFLETE.com, and use the promo code TDP20 to get 20% off your order. Again, that's TDP20 for 20% off your order. Joining me this time is a retired Marine Corps Master Gunnery Sergeant. He retired in 2020 after serving 28 years in the Marine Corps. He wanted to go 30, but I'll let him explain what derailed that plan. After getting out, he's struggled with his own trauma, survivor's guilt, and really kind of found himself in a dark place. But he was able to climb out of it through the love of Jiu Jitsu and boxing and finding his new mission, which is giving back to others through training. He does this through the We Defy Foundation and through UFC gyms. He brings some energy, so settle in for this one. Here's episode 151 with Marcus Dawson.
If I want to stay on what I'm here to talk about, like what people talk about is the boring shit. That's what I want to talk about is the boring shit first. Before you get spun off in some Thailand story, because those stories get wild, you know? It's like, well, what the hell?
You almost taking my thunder a little bit because I was gonna put you on there like, hey, let's just start with the Thailand stories. Get those out.
Those things are crazy because then you could be there for a while. How did this? What? And then you go into something else, and then it spins to everything. Because like I tried to do a podcast when I first got out of the Marine Corps, and that was just because I didn't really have a purpose. So I'm trying to figure my own stuff out.
Doing your own podcast?
Right. And I called it Rolling with Master Guns based on one of my old, are we going already?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Based on one of my former Marines, Chris Shaw. He's still a really good friend of mine now. We went to Iraq together. Went through some rough shit together. He actually kept me sane a lot because of his humor, dark humor. But anyway,
hey, whatever works,
yeah,
man.
He said Rolling with Master Guns. That's what they should name it because I was into Jiu Jitsu still. And I had just got into smoking weed. So he's like, you can go either way with that. I'm like, you know what? That's awesome. And that's where we went, Rolling with Master Guns. I tried to do it for a little bit. I kind of lost motivation for it, I think, because maybe I hadn't found the direction for myself yet, you know, and I was still kind of struggling with a lot of stuff.
It definitely takes some commitment, you know, when you sign on and say, all right, I'm going to do this podcast. Because one of the things that I learned very early on and what I was told is, it's just like anything else. It's like people who watch their favorite TV show or whatever, they get used to it. And if it's not there when they're expecting it, all of a sudden it's like, the hell?
Yeah.
Well, if you're 5 years into it, somebody may kind of just give you, okay, it was a bump of the road. But if you're 5 episodes into it, all of a sudden it's real easy for them to go, oh man, I was on board, and that one little bump, and they'll pivot to something else.
Or like a bump in the road, or life always gives you an excuse or a reason to stop or push off on your dreams or whatever. That's something else with jiu-jitsu that happens often, and it happened with me too. John Romero, one of my best friends in the world, he got me into jiu-jitsu when I was learning MMA, and I was always been good at boxing. I've been boxing since like the 80s. And then I got into kickboxing, so that it became like really one of my passions. Got into mixed martial arts because one of my Marines was going to fight. And so I knew he couldn't box at all. So I was like, hold up, bro, let's work with you a little bit. I don't want you to get in there and getting tuned up. So let's work with you a little bit and work on your hands. And then got roped into MMA. Had some fun, had some good experience, but I really learned that I need jiu-jitsu in my life. And it's a very humbling experience when you're a big, strong dude and like somebody who like you outweigh by 50 pounds strangles you like unconscious. Man, yeah, that's a humbling experience. But it's a learning thing too. But it really made me feel like, okay, hold on. Let's do that again. You know what I mean? Because I had to start learning it. But then that was part of my passion. And Romero told me then, always keep a toe in the water of your passion, no matter what it is or how infrequent that consistency may be, as long as it's consistent. Once a month, once a week, twice a week, you're consistently dipping the toe in the water of your passion. And I'm like, he probably didn't say it as eloquently as I did, but it really hit. And he said it to me again, flash forward like 20 fucking years later or so. And now I'm really happy to see you're reignited with this passion, and I want to see you keep your toes in the water. And it's like, it's my man, and he's with 10th Planet now. He's a black belt over there. It's good times. And I was really big on energy, because energy is real, 100%. So I was really starting to feel that vibe of what energy takes you different places. And at the time, maybe the energy was to bring me through a few things, and I had to talk about a few things. I had to get a few more things off my chest after I retired. I didn't say enough at my retirement speech because I really didn't.
Were your episodes just you and kind of like self-introspection and talking?
No, it was me and other people. And we would talk about jiu-jitsu and their journey a lot, and what they did and why they were interested in jiu-jitsu. And I knew I loved jiu-jitsu because it was a therapy, but I didn't understand how powerful of a therapy it was at that time. This is like 2021. I was retired in 2020. That was a pretty dark place. But so like, again, I didn't realize how powerful jiu-jitsu could be and how much I was going to need it.
The only thing I will add or say to you regarding your podcast journey, one of the things that I've had the benefit of, and I truly call it a pleasure for doing this, is the opportunity to hear from guests, especially when they go back and listen to an episode and go, thank you for giving me the opportunity to say what I said, but also making me feel comfortable enough to actually expose myself, and I take it as a sincere compliment that I made them feel comfortable enough to talk about whatever it was, and for them to get something cathartic out of it, or even better, somebody that they're close to that didn't know they were dealing with X, Y, or Z. And for them to go, man, I didn't know you were struggling. I'm struggling too. I'm going to go get help.
Yeah, that's
those things. Or
one of my friends told me, like, almost the same way you said, hey, thank you remember that dumbass podcast we said we did? And yeah, that was fun. And she's like, well, it really helped her to get some stuff off her chest and really talk about some things that she was dealing with and struggling with. I'm like, man, that was cool to hear at least that's something,
Yeah.
something cool. But I'm not going to mention her name, but she's good people.
Well, let's give everybody the full tour. Let's take you all the way back. Where were you born? Where's home? What do you consider hometown?
Okay, I was born at Tripler Army Air Base in Honolulu, Hawaii. My father was a Navy veteran, combat veteran himself. He did 2 tours in Vietnam. So we were born there. He went to I was probably like 3, maybe not even 3. 2 years old, less than or so, when he moved to California. And he got a job with Siemens. He was really good with electronics, really a wizard with it, and it's crazy. So fell ass backwards into the job, I guess. Got a job offer doing that.
What did he do in the Navy?
He was working on electrical stuff there and radar. And then he learned really fast that if you make yourself very useful and very inexpendable, that you're like, hey, you're valuable and you get your time off too, right? So when they needed him, he was hitting it, doing what he needed to do, going out, doing things he needed to do. Yeah. So like, but he found when he was really good at his job, he didn't have to work as hard. And he got really good at the radar, and he can amplify the frequency of the ships to like go an extra 200 miles inland, so he can see bombs and launching out of the ships and the other patrols coming in a lot faster than the other people.
Information that's kind of valuable, especially for a ship.
At that time, especially when you had SEAL teams or whatever doing stuff in inland or covering Marines fire inland, you could see, hey, there's rockets coming in now. Give you an extra couple of minutes of cover your 6th time.
Right.
So that was a very valuable skill for my father to have. And then it got him the job at Siemens. And he worked as an electrical engineer, Central California. And we moved to Winton, California, just south of Stockton, north of Fresno, the armpit of California, I call it.
Don't tell the Diaz brothers that.
No, man, I will tell them. I love those kids. I love those kids because that attitude that they carry, I won't say anything bad about the Diaz brothers because they're very, very strong dudes, very tough dudes. They've had a lot of respect for what they do and they're great boxing athletes. And the attitude, I grew up with it. It's real, man. It ain't bull crap. You walk around and some dudes just had a chip on their shoulder and wanted to fight you for no reason. And sometimes the streets you would walk around on, like California Street was one of ours. If you walk down California Street and you were Caucasian by yourself, bro, you either better be fast or really can fight really good, And I wasn't very fast. I wasn't very fast. But I definitely had a few friends. I got my butt kicked a lot for a while.
Was your dad from California originally?
No, I think he was from he was from Alabama. They grew up there. His parents, my grandparents, moved to Sonoma, California, and that's where he kind of grew up in his youth or whatever. They moved out of here. I'm not sure why. My grandfather, who was also a World War II veteran, he fought in the Battle of the Bulge. It's amazing talking about my family. Sometimes it blows me away. But he's got a Bronze Star. I got to go walk the battlegrounds as a gunnery sergeant when I was stationed in Stuttgart, Germany, Marine Corps Forces Europe. So that was pretty awesome, walking the same battlegrounds that my grandfather fought in. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not sure why they moved to California, but anyway, we ended up there. And it was a cool place to grow up, and that's what I think my father wanted to have. He was looking for some places to raise his family, but then when he bought the house, he bought it for a deal. And then if you're looking for a place to raise your family, you probably aren't going to want the best deal for the house, right? That's probably not going to be. And so like they found this Golden Estates area that was really cool, and the neighborhood was great, and there was all new homes, and there were all kind of some veterans in that neighborhood, so they all kind of took care of business. Like honestly, I look back on it like, yeah, nobody really messed with that neighborhood because there was a whole bunch of veterans, Vietnam veterans, that kind of lived in that circle there,
right?
That kind of makes a lot of sense. But anyway,
hindsight's 20/20.
You know what I mean? You're looking like, okay. And they were all armed. Every one of them, is wild. But anyway, but the other streets and neighborhoods around it was all hood and ghetto. It's rough. But they were trying to build that area up. So anyway, bought the house for a good deal. Moved in there, and even the real estate guy was like, "Hey man," told my mom, "You're gonna raise a family. I see you got a son and a daughter here. You sure you want to bring them to this area? Because this is like, the neighborhood we're building is great, but the area here is kind of rough." And then, my husband says it's good. It'll be fine. Yeah.
Were your mom and dad married when he enlisted, or did they marry after?
No, they got married, I think, because my sister came along. Yeah.
Did they meet in Hawaii, or did they know each other from back here in California?
No, he met in Corpus Christi. I was born in Hawaii. My sister was born in Texas. So they met when he was stationed in Texas.
Got it. What'd your mom do?
Before that, I know she was a waitress, and I know she had learning about my mother, who's still with us. I'm so blessed to have her still, and my father. She had the love of her life. She lost in Vietnam. So she met my father. It's wild. But I see it as she met my father on a rebound. But like when hearing this story, and my father knows it as well, but hearing this story, she was in love with this. This was the love of her life, man, everything. And she was heartbroken when she lost me in Vietnam to a war that she didn't see as, why were we in this even, So then she meets my father, who's coming back from one of his tours of Vietnam. You know what I mean? But, and then I'm pretty sure that's how they was partying, having this, that, and the other, got pregnant. And I remember hearing the stories of how my father was with my mom. I guess this blows me away. It blows me away that she stayed with him. And like, they got through a lot of things, but my mother's a strong lady. And it's, how could you, it really puts yourself out there for the kids so much. And then I don't know, she went through a lot, and so did we. But it is what it is, you know.
For you growing up, what took up your time?
Well, first it was a lot of getting into trouble when I was a young kid. We did go to the lake and do a lot of fun stuff and partying because my dad liked to go fishing. So we did do a lot of that. We went to baseball games a lot when I was a kid. I do remember some of the fondest memories of my dad when I was a kid. He took me to San Francisco Giants games because they're like an hour and a half from where we were at. It was the stadium. And he would get tickets all the time for dirt cheap. And like, man, so here I am, like 6 years old, watching the San Francisco Giants play. Like, man, it was great. And life was great then. How do I say it? Looking back on my life, I hadn't lost innocence then. You know, you're a kid. Everything was freaking awesome. And then you see all this wild stuff happening, and you're looking back from the time like 6 to, I think, 9. That's when everything went crazy. But you would see like fans. The first time I ever saw a sex blow-up doll was at a San Francisco Giants game. You know, from the fans throwing it onto the field, like, yo, Dad, what's that? Like, I kind of knew what it was, right? But you're looking at it like, bro. Your dad's like, and then hearing your dad, who's probably a 12-pack in already, try to explain, oh, Dad, Marky, it's all right, man. Fans do wild stuff at the games. You never know what. And he's just trying to fend off talking about it. Those are fun memories thinking about. And those were really good times. But you think about what it was going to the baseball game and back, and I think about the 80s, and you see all the commercials, and that stuff's so real, and it's just wild. My father would be drinking a beer on the way to the game, drinking beers through the game, and then cracking a cold one on the way home. Man, it's an hour and a half drive. Of course, he's having a couple beers on the way home. And looking back, I'm like, man, how drunk was this dude? You know, this is wild. This is crazy. I couldn't imagine doing that with my kids. Like, I couldn't imagine doing that, you know, at all, putting him in that risk. And I
think that's one of the weird things that we're at today, and this conversation comes up, and I've said it in many different instances. The younger generation gets a lot of shit for not being as strong, not being as tough, not being as independent, whatever it is. But I always tell everybody that 20-something to 30-something, we're all raised by us Gen Xers who claim that we're the most thick-skinned. You know, it's like we experience so much. It almost seems like for a big portion of us, we went the complete opposite way, and we wrapped our kids in bubble wrap.
Honestly, a lot of people did. A lot of people did wrap their kids in bubble wrap and don't want them to have to deal or shelter them from everything. My wife says that. She says, and she's like, we don't shelter our kids. You know, we don't. If we fight, we don't go to the other room and hide and fight. We get it out right then and there. And sometimes that's bad. You know, hindsight, it is sometimes bad. But she doesn't believe in sheltering the kids at all. The one thing we have worked on very well in any relationships that you're listening to, or couples that are listening to this, probably think, never disrespect your partner in front of your kids, and never talk down to them, and never, how you say it, second guess them right in front of the children. If you don't agree with the plan, cool.
Have a united front in front of the kids.
Absolutely. That makes such a difference. And even if you don't agree with I don't agree with what she just said, but you know what? All right, fellas, do you understand what that's happened? Cool. Go upstairs or get out of here, whatever. And or they leave, whatever happens. But then you talk about stuff. What happens a majority of the time is I pop off because I'm angry. And then my wife's like, just bites her tongue for a second. And the kids walk upstairs and say, you know what? Hey, babe, why don't we look at it like this? Or how about this? And I'm like, this has been happening more often. Like I listen to that. You know what, babe? Thank you. We're going to do that. And the more you can just sit back and look at your own shit, you know, that was a knee-jerk reaction that wasn't right. Let's go with this plan. Cool. Go back and talk to the boys. Hey, look, we're not going to do this because I think that was a bit hot-headed. We're going to do this. And then you guys are going to do this, you know. The united front is money.
My wife now really helped me learn something. And it's not what you think you're giving to the other person. You know, I'm being respectful or whatever it is. It's how are they perceiving what you're giving to them? And for me, the big thing with her to realize was I naturally go high voice in my head. I'm not yelling. I'm just talking. And to her, it was, you got to understand, to me, you're yelling at me. And just because I sit there and say, well, I'm not yelling doesn't make it different. Right. So that for me, that was the big thing, is to take that step back and really understand that how somebody else is receiving what you're sending.
Yeah, I need to work on that sometimes.
Don't we all?
You know, I honestly do, because I hear exactly what you just said. It's in my head. I know I'm not screaming. I'll even say it. I'm not yelling. And I know I'm talking firm though. And that's why I like, okay, register that. You know, you're talking firm. I know I'm an intimidating looking man. You know, it's like 6'2", 210 pounds, this big old beard. I know, bro. But anyway.
You left out the sexy part.
Yeah, I thought it was a given. I thought that just came with it.
You know, for the people who are listening and not watching.
Oh, I thought with the beard, you said if you're 6'2", 210 pounds with a beard, that's the jam.
You mentioned going to baseball games. What was sports like for you as a kid? Were you into them?
Oh, yeah. I played football, though. I didn't start playing football actually till, man, everything's coming back to this 9-year-old thing. So stuff went down, I guess, but you know, it really did. But
do you want to hit on it?
Nah, not really. I just it's kind of hitting me right now. Like, what the fuck? But anyway, started football at 9 a.m. or 9 years old, and actually started boxing right about the same time. Was getting in a lot of fights, walking home, like I said, California Street, wasn't not joking around. Even though my grandma, she moved into the house from Sonoma, they moved her to down the road. She lived branching off of California Street, so it was just down the street from there. My dad got another deal on the house. But anyway, he really did get her house for amazing, like $60,000 or something for her home. It was crazy. And like he ended up selling it later when I was grown and she passed away. But man, anyway, I would have to walk to her house, and even then I wouldn't have to walk all the way down California Street, and you still had to cut down. And me and my sister would be together. If the bus dropped us off there and we wasn't walking home with a pack of kids, sometimes we have to run home to the house, because otherwise Marky was getting jumped. And my sister's going to try to stand up for me, of course, and I had to stand up for her way too many times too. But good times. But yeah, I learned how to get jumped as a kid, and so my mother put me into boxing. I was begging her to want to learn anyway. And there was a gym that opened up with one of the veterans that was teaching, and he was teaching for free once a week. Check this out. It's going to blow your mind. He was teaching for free once a week. I said, hey, Mom, I want to go try the free class. It's a free class. It doesn't cost us anything. And it's on a Saturday. You're not even working. I know you're not tired. Boom. Go try it out. Liked it. Of course, then you got to pay to go. You know what I mean? But she
set the hook.
Yeah. So I liked it. But then she's looked at the classes and this, that, and the other, and she went and talked to the dude, and then boom, okay. And then I was doing boxing. And then hindsight, I'm like, I'm boxing now. I'm not getting in any trouble. Nobody's messing with me. But then a couple years, like I didn't get into a fight for years after that. So I messed around at school, got bullied at school, and had some stuff happen at school. But like, it went a couple years before I got jumped again. But anyway, I was thinking it was because I was a badass or something, but really it's because I lived here and the school was here. And then if you had to walk home, I had to walk like 3 miles and then come down California Street through the hood to my house. But if I had to walk to the boxing street, it was a half mile down Winton Way, was the main drag. There's freaking nobody messing with you on Winton. There's so many population, right? Shoot right down there, boop, go train. You know
so I mean? just a different pathway home.
Yeah,
kept you out of fights.
And my mom picked me up from the gym and took me home, so I never had to walk home. I was getting driven home. So yeah, no kidding. Mom was awesome. God, she's a genius, right? Thinking I was a tough guy.
Were the guys that were jamming you up in your neighborhood, was it just knuckleheads or full-on gang members?
Both. There was some knuckleheads that turned into gang members. There was a lot of gang activity going on through there. Mexicans and black folks. Yeah, so being Caucasian sometime there, it was rough.
Were you able to actually avoid getting into the gangs?
Yeah, pretty well. I got accused. We did get accused of being in a little gang quite a bit, but only because we looked out for one another. We didn't do there was like a group of us that were like a group of 6. And the first one that became really tight with me was my best friend Reyes, because I was getting jumped and he came and just for no reason at all, other than he saw me at football practice, right? And that's the only real reason. Now one of the guys from the team was getting jumped, and he ran over to take my back. And then we became friends. He lived like a half a mile from me. And so we became friends then. And my other buddy Juan became friends. And then it became Jason, my best friend Albert, who's still my best friend today. We kind of got accused of that because, like, if you fought one of us, for me, it was just the same as I am now. I really appreciated the fact that when you're getting your butt kicked, maybe that resonated so well as a youth, it burned into my psychology. So if somebody's coming to take your back and you're getting beat up, bro, that's your man. That's your dude. You know, that's your shit. So now, recent events, if you want to fight my professor, right? In one of my black belt, if you want to fight him and I'm in the room, you're going to have to fight me first. I don't even give a fuck if I don't know you. Like, I just who I am, you know? I don't know how to turn that off. I thought I did. Like, I really did until Sunday. Like, I really thought I knew how to turn that off and just manage that emotion. I recently went from one gym to another. My professor now is also a retired Marine, and he's very good at getting me out of my head. And I do struggle with some issues. And that's one of the reasons I did want to come on the podcast, was to talk about those issues and bring to light, like I said, the boring shit that nobody wants to talk about. That depression is real. PTSD is a real thing. Survivor's guilt is a real thing. And my professor, he sees it when it's happening. Like, when you're real good at Jiu Jitsu, right? You can see a move three steps ahead, and you know what to do, right? Well, if you're a retired Marine who's been dealing with this stuff for years, decades, you can see it happening. You can hold up, bro. You see a trigger right now. And so he gets me back out of my head fast. And, like, it's something I didn't know I was going to need. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense at all.
Makes complete sense.
So I owe him a lot for getting me out of my head on some occasions that he probably doesn't even know about. But so like, I thought I was good at turning off that emotion, but that loyalty thing is strong. And going from one school to another, like, I'm glad I didn't have to leave my team, because I love my team so much, man. Carlson Gracie team is awesome. My teammates, my training partners, and that's really it. Like, when you're in a good academy and you have good, amazing training partners, that's going to be your foundation to make you better, because your professor's not always going to be there. You know, your partners are going to be there every single rep. So if you have quality people around you and quality partners, and my team, headquarters and at Wine Country, and even over at Inland Valley, every time I've gone over there, the teams are just solid people, you know, amazing individuals who want you to get better and be better. And then that makes so much of a difference. And it's like, I wanted to be around that more for my own mental health, because I do struggle with some things. And, like, everybody who's talked to me about it, and I've explained it, they all understood. Because it's no disrespect to anybody who's at Jiu Jitsu, right? Because Jiu Jitsu is an amazing skill. And my old professor's Jiu Jitsu is amazing, but I need a little something different. And maybe it's that retired Marine who's able to give it to me, you know, bring it to me. And then it's not just, how do you say it? The benefit is not just a good feeling. Like, how do you explain depression, or how do you explain survivor's guilt, right? What it is to survive a horrific event when a lot of your people, dudes, that's my man. It's right there. That's my man. But he didn't make it, but you survived. So it's like, you wrap your head around that guilt. So that's part of the things I have to deal with. So, like, it isn't just a good feeling that I'm chasing. I do chase that every day. In the gym, I chase a good feeling every day. But that part, like, that piece is different. And I might not only need that once in that month when I'm slipping, or I'm starting to go down into that hole, and he catches me before I fall, or I start to slip. That's it. You know, it brings you right out. Because other times, if you don't have somebody who sees it, now you're here, and you don't see anything else. And I tried to explain to somebody about depression, what it is when you're depressed, and what it is when you're in that black, dark hole. You're not thinking about anybody else, because everybody always says, well, reach out and talk to people if you're hurting. It's good to do when you're on the way down. If you are hurting, there's signals you're going to give, right? There's indicators, and you're going to be reaching for help, and you're going to be giving those signals because you do need help, and you're hoping people see it. But they don't always see it if you're around the people that aren't trained for it, right? Or they're in their own stuff, or they're too busy, or whatever, you know? So then you start to slip, And if you're already in the hole, you're already there. You're not thinking about anybody else. You're not worried about anybody else who's having an amazing fucking life, whatever they're doing. All you see around you is the blackness. All you see around you is dark. All you see is that issue. And then sometimes you get twisted and feel that that's only the way out. There's one way out and that's it. And it's good for everybody. And you get blinded with that. So like I was talking to Professor Asa about it just yesterday. Like I represent We Defy Foundation now because they bring veterans to the mat. PTSD is a real thing. And a lot of our disabled veteran community are struggling and they deal with some issues that we have to go through. And transitioning to the civilian life is one of those issues. And that you have a good team of people and that sport of jiu-jitsu causes you to put in that uncomfortable environment. It forces you to grow, right? And it'll get you out of your head. And when you're there on the mat and you're depressed, right? And somebody drags you to jiu-jitsu, or one of your buddies says, hey, let's go. Like my man, Dustin's always reaching out to me all the time. And he's at headquarters now. He's like, hey, you training? I'm trying to link up again. When do you train this time? Yo, Professor Fariba wrist locked me 7 times today. He loves me. I'm like, oh, he loves you. He wrist locked you 7 times. Okay. You know what I mean? But like,
he could have wrist locked me 8.
Wrist lock's horrible. I hate it. I hate it when you wrist lock me. I want to elbow you in the face when you wrist lock me. But like, anyway, so like stuff like that. Yeah, it creates an environment where it helps you get better. And then if you get those veterans that are struggling and they have somebody, like they're starting to slip and then somebody's like, hey man, I didn't see you at class. Where you been? Or, hey man, you haven't been a class all week. Where you been, you little bitch? I want to smash you today. And then like, especially if you're a combat vet, bro, or anybody who's been through some shit or a fighter at all. And somebody says that to you, like, wait, what? You're going to what? Oh, okay. When is class? You know, I'm coming to choke this little bitch. You know, you're going to go on, you're going to get back out there. Right. So that's the good benefit of having good training partners. As weird as that sounds.
It's 100% legit. And I don't have experience with other martial arts. I came to jiu-jitsu. It's been the last 3 years. I'll say it. I love it. But the thing that I tell people all the time is the community that you develop. Even if you just go into class and you're sitting against the wall, there's somebody there to talk to.
Yeah.
And for many of them, they're going to be, in my experience, there's a lot of veterans, first responders, who can relate to each other. So even if you're not feeling it, you just get in there and you start, like I said, you just start shooting the shit with somebody, all right, let's roll. And then for that 5-minute roll, 6-minute roll, whatever it is, I guarantee you're not thinking about anything except what's going on right there.
And breathing.
Trying to breathe.
And breathe. That's it. But that's the best part. It's like I try to explain to people that it's the best free-flowing meditation that I've ever had, other than boxing. Boxing used to be getting concussed all the time. Boom, 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 you know, but other than jiu-jitsu, you're not getting concussed all the time. Sometimes, like I can't say it doesn't happen, but for the most part, you're out of your head and just trying to survive, trying to flow into this move, trying to get your body mechanics to get the muscle memory down for this movement. And I've had to learn that the hard way. Before I was just trying to deal on like thinking I was some kind of an athlete. Bro, you're in your 40s. Late 40s at that, trying to do jiu-jitsu as a master gunny. You're already disabled, bro. You're trying to do this stuff. And then we're going hard and going, and it's like injuries. And it's trying to rehab in more injuries and then I just get more setbacks.
Try being 55, but your brain still thinks you're 25.
Yeah, and that's
then you start rolling with that 25-year-old guy. It's like,
yeah,
damn, I can't match their speed or their strength.
Yeah, talk about it. I'm 50 now, so I get you with I starting to get you. I don't get you yet, sir. But it's because I feel that this last year, it's been like a plague of injuries after injury. And I've always had the injury plague since I started jiu-jitsu. Again, I started as an old man who was already disabled. Master Gunnery started in the Marine Corps. But I took a lot of pleasure, and now I'm a Master Gunnery started in the Marine Corps, choking out these young dudes. My ego got a real kick out of that, right? So then I started to learn more and to grasp it, and coaching. Got into coaching and it became something I didn't know I was gonna need and love. And I got into coaching boxing, helping out Joe Bradley, who does a great boxing class up in our headquarters class in Murrieta. Got into coaching with him there. So first I started off with just coaching my sons, Connor and Brody. Because Joe wanted, hey, let's bring your sons to the park to get my grandson Junior out there training. Come on, let's go. And he was trying to cultivate a class. And it started out with Connor, Brody, and Junior at the park. And I'm over here just training with these kids. And then we migrated to the gym, and he's working there. And hey, I need you to help out. If anytime you want to help out. So I'd help out just because it was fun, and it would migrate right into jiu-jitsu. And I love boxing. And I didn't realize how much of a kick I would get out of seeing, I don't know how to explain it. You have kids?
Mm-hmm.
How old are your children?
They are,
grown?
Coming up on, they're all in college. They're coming up on 20.
All right, flashback to your child's 4 or 5, right? And they're coming to their first boxing class, and they can barely fumble through the ladder drill. And they look like they're about to fall over the first couple of times they're throwing the first 1-2. Couple that to 2 classes later, and they're hitting a 4-piece combination, angle of movement with a counter. And then you as a parent, like, what? That feeling, like seeing that feeling, and what I just had, what I brought to your child right now, that little basics and fundamentals of, I call it beautiful violence, but boxing, the beautiful violence I brought to them right now by just focusing on this for the few classes, a few hours, boom, a few hours of dedication and discipline. And then I see that, and you see that magic happen. And for me, it feels like you're painting or like you're building art, because a person can barely even function. And then now they're hitting combinations, and now they're rolling 8-piece combinations. And I got this children now that you've been training for years. And one of the kids I work with now, Simon, I've been training with him for like 6 years. It's amazing to me. And this kid's hands are so great. Another one of the kids I've been training a couple of years now, Sway. And she's a jiu-jitsu athlete. And she started at our academy because we had boxing too. And she loved my boxing class when she came in. Yeah, I want to stay at this academy. Great. And then she loves jiu-jitsu, and she's all into it. And she's super talented, amazing. And her father wants her to learning her hands, so he wanted to keep working her boxing once a week. And me and Sway had a pretty good bond at jiu-jitsu class and boxing. And then she started helping me out, coach the littles. So now here she is, a 12-year-old helping out. Now she's 13, but helping out coach, which created another student-athlete bond that I didn't realize was going to be there. And then I went back to school after the Marine Corps, got a second degree in sports psychology. But they talk about the coach to athlete relationship, and they talk about the responsibilities of the coach in that arena and things you're supposed to be doing, but they don't talk about the emotions that happen. And they don't talk about that bond of loyalty to your student that happens. That, like, I didn't realize was going to be there. Like, even though I'm not even at headquarters, I'm over at Wine Country, but I still care more about this kid's gains and future and her benefit. And I still train boxing with her once a week. Her father wants her to continue to have that skill. And if she wants to move into MMA, she has a really good base and foundation. And even if she doesn't, I know people have heard the Dana White meme where he goes around, if you really want your daughter to be dangerous, or want you to protect your daughter, or want your daughter to get into a sport, especially one that's going to protect her for the rest of her life, put her into jiu-jitsu. And then have her compete at jiu-jitsu as a young athlete. And she's going to learn what it's like to deal with somebody in real fast sprint, full speed time that's trying to hurt you, right? So when the person who's coming to try to hurt them, they're thinking they're going to bring putting it on full speed. They haven't gone full speed before. They practiced it in their head maybe, but they've never really attacked somebody, right? They're going what they think is full speed, and then you're so much more ready to defend yourself because you prepared for that over and over and over already. That's why these young kids, these kids who start jiu-jitsu so young, flash forward to their teenagers now, and they're killers. And if they stay at it to when they're adults and they keep building a foundation of strikes, and let's say they only go to boxing once a week, but they started at 9 years old, and they keep doing jiu-jitsu with that base of striking until they're an adult, they can transition into MMA if they want to, or they continue to run an academy with the safety and foundation of knowing that even if an intruder comes in and they have to keep it on the feet, they're going to be able to beat the brakes off this person and then choke them out, right? It's like the best of both worlds. And that's what the confidence I know I walk around with. And some people give me crap about like that. I walk into any gym and I'm just confident in whatever gym I'm walking into that, like, hey, I know I'm going to be able to protect myself and handle myself wherever I'm at and in whoever I'm talking to. It's like, cool, I'm cool. I'm happy-go-lucky guy right now. Why? I know I can bring the violence to murder you right now. It's right here. That's what jiu-jitsu gives me too, is that it checks that ego that was just trying to peek out right now.
Well, and I think the other thing that you hit on when you're talking about the transition piece and the veterans and first responders, the big thing is when you lose that community, and I'll say lose, we step away from those communities. There is something about, yes, go get another job that brings you a paycheck. That's one aspect of it. But find the next mission, and I believe this in my heart. If you can find a mission where you're giving back to somebody and you start getting that value in helping somebody else, it's going to be rewarding to you.
Yep. Everything you're saying right now is just hitting right into the feels, man. Because like I say it to myself all the time. And then to hear somebody else spit your thoughts at you, bro, that's why I'm saying energy is real. Because that vibration that we're both feeling right now, that didn't just come out of the air for nothing. It's there for a reason. It's to make a difference in somebody's life, and that's why you're doing what you're supposed to be doing now with this podcast. It's freaking awesome. It's great. And I know it's helping people. And I like that it has the transition from military and first responders. Now what spawned that? Just out of curiosity for myself, I wanted to ask that question. What spawned you would want to do that podcast? Was that to help first responders and veterans get out and make their move into the civilian life? Or is there, were we noticing roadblocks at that? Or
I spent damn near 35 years in law enforcement. My entire adult life was in law enforcement. I kicked this off while I was still active. I retired at the end of last year. And obviously the catalyst, that point for kicking it off was thinking about moving from my law enforcement career to what I was going to do next. And so that was the big thing, was it kind of grew from there. Now, one of the things that definitely became an important component of it is you see the numbers of men and women that are struggling, both from the veteran side and the first responder side.
It's growing.
These careers put us in and expose us to what 99.9% of the population has no concept of what we experience. And unfortunately, the complete, I'll say the opposite side of that table is these jobs and careers also say, we're going to expose you to the worst, but you better suck it up and move on to the next one, whatever the next one is. And don't wallow in what you experience. So there isn't an even balance.
You never even get a time to process and deal, go through your emotions. That's one of the things you never get to do, go through your emotions, to deal with the emotions that you just felt when you lost somebody really, really close. Or you almost died, or you almost lost your shit, but you never get to deal with that a lot.
And so I see improvements happening. And obviously, I think 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, it will be better and it will be different. But what became an important part of this podcast also was, yes, start thinking today about your transition. What are you going to do when you're done with this career? But also take care of yourself today. Do what you can to address the Rubik's Cube between your ears. Keep yourself physically or as physically healthy as you can be, so that if when you make it to your transition, hey, I want to go play golf and hang out with my grandkids. Well, be in a good headspace where you're not like, shit, grandpa's pissed all the time. I don't want to be around him. Be in a physical space where you can go walk around Disneyland with your grandkids, go play golf. So it's those were the two things that came together.
Yeah, so you can really enjoy that life.
If your transition involves doing something else, then start planning and preparing for it now. Yeah. Also, if your transition involves doing nothing, at least be in a good place where you can enjoy life.
Oh, yeah, and in a good headspace.
Yes.
That you're ready to enjoy that, doing nothing, because that is a struggle in itself. I like that. I like that you have the short term too, like short term people getting out 6 months to a year. This is what you do. I like that you have those little targets, because some people have years to think about. I know one of the brainstorms that hit me, and I've been talking with the UFC and they're on board. Now I got to talk to the Marine Corps Skill Bridge program. I know they're cutting back on Skill Bridge programs, but I gotta do some work there and see about a program to help physically fit Marines. I'll say it again, physically fit Marines transition if you want to be a fitness coach, or you want to work into the fitness industry of some kind. And maybe you don't have any experience at being a coach or fitness coach, but if you've been to corporal's course or your NCO school, yeah, you do have leadership skills and you do have ability to teach. You've been shown that already. And if you're an NCO or a corporal or sergeant and you're leading people, man, you should be able to talk, mentor, and lead people. If you run PT sessions, you run HIIT sessions, you probably do this all the time already, right? Especially if you're a PT NCO, because this is how I got into being or learning how to run classes. And I used to run classes as a young corporal and sergeant just to break people. Like that was my whole, hey, I'm going to make people quit today at this class. I was training myself too. So it wasn't like I wasn't doing it with them. I wanted to push myself to, I'm going to tap and see who else taps with me. You know, how many times can I sprint up this mountain kind of a thing. And sometimes I was a little bitter because I had to give up my chow time to train all these fat Marines who don't know how to train because I was a Marine PT. So we're all going to haze. But that's how you got away with that stuff back in the 90s. It was gangster. They were like, hell yeah, haze them fat fucks. And they didn't care. It's terrible, right? But it's just so funny at the same time. But
one of the things you said,
I'm sorry, what I was digressing was you get attached with it more. So now you get to do it all the time. Now you're the PTNCO at every level. Now you're the sergeant and you learn how to be one. So if you're a PT stud now, how would it be to migrate over and do your internship with the UFC for 60 days, learn how to run a class as the UFC does, go through the UFC's certification week, because it's not just a class you take online. It's a week-long certification you have to go through. And honestly, that fucks most people up because they don't want to do that. They don't want to step up in front of people and actually have to coach a class. And they go, I just want to make money on the side as a coach. No, bro, you got to be able to teach, inspire, motivate, and make people better. That's what you should be able to do. Instead of you're going to sit over here and talk crap about the UFC trainers because, no, they're UFC, they're corporate. You know what? And they also get taught how to teach people. And they also get taught how to market yourself a little bit. They also get taught how to put a class together, that kind of deal. How about you do that for 60 days prior to getting out of the Marine Corps? And now you have a job anywhere you want to go in the United States or the world, because there's UFC gyms all over the world that you can go to. And you say you're going to college for 4 years using your GI Bill, or 3 years using your GI Bill. Now you use your GI Bill, pay your rent while you're going to freaking college. You have your side job as a fitness coach, and you can make some pretty good money as a fitness coach. If you're old and broken like me, you're probably not gonna be able to work more than 25 hours a week before your body's hurting. So yeah, if you're young and you want to push 40 hours a week, you're probably gonna make some pretty good money as a fitness coach, right? And now you got your rent's paid, making side money as a fitness coach, going to school, probably for what you love to do until you get your degree. Now you just leveled up and you continue to do what you love to do. Now you go and freaking manage somewhere and be a director somewhere in the fitness industry. And that's a beautiful job for me. It sounds like it's an amazing transition if you're a young Marine getting out. For me, I already got a pension. So like, hey, cool, I'm good with it.
Well, the only thing I would add to that is if you know you're going to get a billet assignment where you're going to be there for a couple of years and it's going to be physical, let's say physical fitness, go get your certifications while you're there.
100%.
You know, if you're driving a truck right now, instead of just being like, shit, I'm just motor T, I'm just driving, go get your certification to be a big rig truck driver while you're still active.
Because it's paid for. Because I got my certifications, hit level 1, 2, while I was in the Marine Corps. And I was trying to learn how to rehab my back. So I learned kettlebells. So it sent me to a kettlebell certification course just because I could learn how to rehab my back. Dope. You know, I didn't realize how much value that was going to bring to the table either. And then you have to learn about health and nutrition. So, you got to take this NASM certification course. I'm like, okay, it's just a bunch of stuff you got to read. And then they give you, don't tell anybody. But they gave me this cheat sheet book. So when I took the test, it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it was a long time ago.
And there is two sides of that coin. You could be going down a path and see a training class that you would like to go to. If you market it the right way to your boss, they'll send you to it.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure that you sell it to them as, if I go to this class, look at all that I can bring back to the Marine Corps. Look at all that I can bring back to this first responder agency.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not in their normal pipeline of classes they're going to send you to. You just sell it well, and now all of a sudden you're off, to different classes.
Yeah. I'm hoping that I could sell it well as in helping folks transition out. Giving them something that they can, a useful skill that they can have wherever they're going to transition to out of the military. Say they're going to Washington or wherever. Now they got a job as a fitness coach waiting for them at a gym already set up. That's one less stress a veteran's going to have to deal with. Now they're just going to school and going to work. And guess what Marines are usually good at? It's showing up and going to work. So now they know where they have to go. That's half the plan right there. They're already good. Now they're just going to show up and go up. The rest of it is show up and get it done. That could be awesome. So I've been brainstorming on that for a while. I just got to put a little more effort and energy into it to make it come into fruition and making some points of contact. It's Marine Skill Bridge, working on that.
Going back to you, so you started football as a young boy. Did you follow it into high school?
Yeah, I played all the way until I graduated high school. Played on the Camp Pendleton team too as a young Marine. I was pretty competitive. I started school a little younger than most. I started at 4. So like I started my senior year in high school. I was 16. So I guess it's really good that I could box because like bullying was a real thing back then. So if you couldn't stand up for yourself, you got bullied around. But so I was a lot younger than everybody else. I had some really great dudes on the football team that also took care of each other and they bullied each other, but like nobody else would bully you, right? Except for maybe the wrestlers, maybe they would bully you too. But if you were on the wrestling team, then cool. But if you had this skill that you can throw a good 4-piece combination and you could sprawl, nobody really messed with you. So I was pretty happy. But that team concept from the football, that really transitioned well over in the Marine Corps. Because you can't have an offense without a defense. You can't have a good quarterback doing great plays without a good offensive line. So that really helped me put together, I do say, managing people in the Marine Corps when it first came in.
How were you on the other side of the fence as far as academics? Did you like school?
No, I was very gifted and I didn't really have to try. And my kids went the opposite way as far as setting themselves up for their senior year being the best year of their life. Like in high school, I took all my hard classes my freshman, sophomore, junior year, and I was just trying to get all hey, this is mandatory to graduate. Got it all out the way, right? And my senior year, I had like 1 mandatory class, drama, and then sports, football and wrestling, and that was it. And boxing, just horsing around, having fun. And it was the greatest year of my life. My senior year was awesome.
At that point, did you have plans for your adulthood? Was college on your radar?
No, I knew also that I didn't have the discipline to go to college without getting into trouble. A lot of my friends back then, I was a misguided youth. We were doing a lot of partying and stuff. And gangs was a real thing. Some of my friends were getting into that. And because I was boxing, I had a reputation, right? If he's a tough guy. But the reputation grew out of hand, in my opinion. Because like reputation, the rumors spread and then they multiply. And all of a sudden you went from, he knocked this guy out till he knocked out 8 dudes to, all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, wow. Like, that sounds impressive, But then all of a sudden now.
You were John Wick before John Wick was.
Right. But then dudes want to shoot you. And I'm like, whoa. I don't even know this guy. This guy wants to shoot me, like what the hell? And so that's where like and when I went to the Marine Corps and I was coming back, I heard about that happening a lot, but I wanted to get away from that environment. And some of my other family members on my father's side, my cousins, they got into some bad stuff. One of my cousins, Joey, got into some gang related stuff too. And his older brother, Jimmy, who we were really close growing up, he was like my little brother. He even lived with us for a while when some crazy shit went on. Lost him to suicide when I was young. I was a young Marine at the time and I wasn't there anymore, right? So I kind of blamed myself for I lost contact with him. I didn't talk to him for a while and I knew he was struggling. I knew he'd gone in at a juvenile hall and he would always snap himself back into place when I would put him in check, right? Because he respected his cousin Mark. Same with Joey. Anyway, I lost him. And that was a difficult one because I was on deployment at the time, so I couldn't even go to the funeral. And my father went to the funeral and he said, Mark, I'm glad you weren't there because you probably would have lost your shit. Because it was a very disrespectful ceremony. He thought people dropping beer cans into the funeral, in the coffin and stuff. And yeah, I probably would have lost my shit. And there was a lot of gang affiliated people at the funeral. So flash forward, my cousin Joey, he's a 2-strike felon and he was in a stolen car. So that he was going to get pulled over. He knew he was in a stolen car. I don't think he stole the car, right? But of course, whatever. He knew he was in a stolen car. And so he didn't want to boom, tries to outrun the cops. Worst comes to worst. when you see it play out, it's suicide by cop. And then knowing my cousin and having this conversation with him, he wasn't going back to prison. He wasn't going to go back. He even said, no matter what, it wasn't going to happen. So he got into a standoff with the police officers, and one of my other cousins, she was really upset, and she still has a little bitter feelings towards law enforcement. But I'm like, Melissa, what would you have done if I would have been there? I was going to be a law enforcement officer when I was going to get out of the Marine Corps the first time in 1996. I was going to be in LAPD. I might have been a Merced County Sheriff at the time. This might have been me. I'm like, what would you have done if Joey's shooting at me? What would you want me to do? And she's like, well, I would have smoked him the same as they did. Like, he shot a law enforcement officer. It wasn't like he just pulled it and there was hesitation or something. No, man, you pulled it and shot somebody in the leg. You know, now this guy's got a permanent limp in his life, and all he was doing was trying to pull over somebody who freaking had expired tags on a stolen car, you retard. You know, you're in a stolen car, you probably would have went back to prison, bro. But like, yeah. You made that decision and you weren't going back. You tried to outrun them. You got in a shootout with a law enforcement officer and you lost your life. Suicide by cops. Now I lost somebody else in my family to suicide. And I went to that funeral, like I said, and here I am. I had been to a few funerals before this, and my cousin Joey was there. And there's a lot of gang affiliated folks, right? And here I am, an active duty Marine with the collared shirt and the khakis and just trying to be respectful. And then causes somebody to look at you some kind of way and talk shit. And then I'm like, okay, I'm talking to my best friend Albert, man, this kid over here I don't even know who this kid is, man, but he's about to get dropped, man. We need to start moving out of here. And then my buddy Joey comes over, hey, oh, that's your cousin? Oh man. And all these kids knew about me already. But I'm not going to go on there bragging about who I am, but they all know who I was because of my cousin Joey. So then as soon as he said, oh, now all these dudes in the room are kissing my ass. Oh shit, I'm sorry, bro. Da, da, da. And all these dudes turned into the nicest guys in the world. And flash forward 5 minutes earlier, they probably all wanted to murder me, right? And it's like, it was the weirdest freaking thing. Now and it was cool. Like, okay, cool. And all these guys are vibing. And then when Joey passed away, his funeral was rough, but it was not disrespectful. You know, there was some beer cans being dropped in the trash can. You know what I mean? But like, it was different, and they definitely respected me and who I was, and I thought that was great. And they also had the same respect enough that knew if anybody had a problem with me at that party or at that funeral, then you want to go banging out with Joey's cousin, then you'd let him know, bro, and then we're going to let you get your ass kicked. But when you get your ass kicked, that's going to be it. They would have just let it happen. And I loved that. I loved that. As even in all these felons, it was just that vibe was still there. But if you had the ability to do that, you had the ability to handle your business, it's like a vibration that carries, and they all knew it. And then they respected it, and then they gave you that respect back. And I thought it was cool. Different vibe than when my cousin Jimmy had his funeral, but it's just different. And then now I represent We Defy Foundation because we have been continuously losing the battle to depression, and we've been continuously losing military members to the silent killer that gets us at home. And you talked about the numbers. Reflecting on the numbers, we've lost like 7,056 approximately in Iraq and Afghanistan killed in action. And I have a shirt here that has 26 of my friends on it. Actually, it has 25 on this one because Jennifer Parcel's not on this shirt. There's 25 on this shirt. There's 26 people. I have a gi that I wear and I compete on, and I didn't bring home. They didn't come home with me on a deployment or didn't make it back. They were friends of mine on a deployment. And I carry that weight and it hurts a lot. But now I've lost more service members that I knew or was in the same unit with. Hey, I know that guy that killed himself. And it's baffling to me. And then the numbers are 7,056. It's like 30,177 approximately that have lost the battle to depression and killed themselves since 9/11, from active duty to veterans now. That's more than 4 times as many we're losing from veterans and active duty folks who are losing the silent battle. They're not even in combat. They're losing it at home. And it's baffling to me. And nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to make that the focus of effort, right? And that I don't know what to do about it. And like a lot of people don't, but things like this, bringing awareness to it and just talking about it are great. Organizations like We Defy Foundation, yeah, they understand folks deal with PTSD. Post-traumatic stress is a real thing. Survivor's guilt's a real thing. Sometimes there's other things you're dealing with. Maybe you had some assault issues that happened and you're dealing with those. Maybe you had to do some things that you're not very proud of and you're still dealing with that. and you have to wrestle that out on the mat. It's real. And it's, you have other people that are in the same situation or the same environment. And there's so many other veterans. And like you said, first responders that are on the mats with you. And they go through that pain and that transition with you. And it really helps get you out of your head. And sometimes fighting for your life when somebody's trying to strangle you, it really brings you to a peaceful place. And if you've already gotten your first tap, I know you know this vibe. There is nothing more therapeutic than strangling somebody. Man, that is a vibe in itself, you know? That's a good feeling. So now I try.
It's almost that lead up to it though, where you feel it setting in and they're still kind of struggling, but you know you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great feeling. It's a really great, but you know, it's just a matter of time. Great vibes. But like We Defy Foundation knows that get you on the mat, and if this therapy is for you, jiu-jitsu is not for everybody. If it's for you, it's going to hit. It's going to hit real, and it's going to hit strong, and it could hit strong enough to save your life. And I don't just say it as a gimmick, because the data is real and it's there. And I have so many veterans that reach out to me now. A lot of dudes, a lot of men out there that have been struggling with something, they reach out to me and they tell me about the issues that they've been having and how jiu-jitsu has helped them, and how just, even if it's just having those 3 times a week they're at jiu-jitsu, to be at it in their own headspaces, doing their own things with everybody on the mats cares about them and getting better. It makes a hell of a difference. It makes an amazing difference in their life, and it helps to get everything else into structure, you know? And for me, that vibe is real. I'm helping get more veterans to the mat and doing something I love to do, because why do I love to do it? It gets me out of my head for 90 minutes. And sometimes you're helping coach, and here's where the real magic's happening. You're coaching and you're mentoring others, and you're helping them get better. And that vibration is also real, and it is magical. When you coach somebody through something and they just executed it, you're like, yes, he strangled that dude. Yeah. But it's like,
move of the day.
You know what I mean? But those things are great, and I love it so much. And now that I'm injured with my knee, I'm trying to get this rehabbed. Sometimes I get in my head when I can't train, and you don't want to be in your own head. So like Asa is really, but hey man, I know if you can't train, just come help mentor others. This is what the lesson he was giving me. He's like, take advantage of that, of your opportunity to learn how to be a better coach, to learn how to teach better, to learn how to help people get better, because that's going to help you get better. And I'm like, this motherfucker. So it hits right when you need it to. So okay, cool, I'll come into class. Even if I couldn't do a lot, I'm going to come, you know?
I think the thing that I've found that I love about jiu-jitsu, you've mentioned boxing. The problem is, and not a problem, but you go at boxing 50 to 60%, you're still going to potentially deal with concussions. You can get on the mat and go your 70% because we've already talked about this. We're the older end of the spectrum, you know? So I think that's one of the things that keeps a lot of the older veterans and first responders, well, man, it's just going to be a room full of young guys. Actually, you'd be surprised. But the one thing I've found is there's that respect level. They're going to understand that your 60% is different than their 60%. But as long as you're go as hard as you want to go. Very few martial arts allow you to go to that level in training and still, for the most part, not get injured.
And if you have somebody who's proficient, like if you have a good set of purple belts, even some high skill, even some very patient blue belts, that can flow with you, that's the jam. And like a lot of people say they know about flowing, and you don't really know about flowing until you're injured trying to flow with somebody. Then you really understand what flowing is, because you're trying not to hurt, and the other person could power through something and jump through something, and they're not hurting.
Yeah.
If you're hurting, you're going to really focus on the flow, you know? So the push, the pull, the he hits it, I counter it. The she hits it, I counter it, you know, and you go back and forth. Or you're saying, how far are you going? I'm going to the submission. Great. You're rolling all the way, transitioning into the submission. You tap, then you step, you do it again. Now I'm going to the submission, transition to the submission. Like, man, I had my man Ron, he was preparing for a tournament, but we had a great flow because my knee was hurting, and we were flowing back and forth. And that's what we were calling it. I'm gonna go to the submission. I'm gonna roll I'm gonna go until I get the ankle lock. I'm gonna go until I get the back. You know what I mean? And then he'd hit the back, and then I'm gonna counter out of it. And then I'm gonna come to the submission. Boom. It was dope. Those are magical rolls when you have those, because just back and forth, and you're tired and you're exhausted because you kept moving the whole time, but you never went full speed. Right? So now your joints aren't blasted, and you're not fighting through an arm bar, and your shoulder's not masked up, and your bulging discs aren't swollen, but you're still tired. I'm like, yes, if I could do that every round, that's the jam.
But you will find that, because one of the things is you'll find that mutual respect even at the start of, hey, this shoulder's jacked up. Please do me a favor. If you get into that spot, don't go too far with it.
Yeah.
And it's a communication thing. It's a feeling thing, but you're going to give that give and take from the people that you're with. But like I still say, it's the community that you get involved with. And even if you aren't rehabbing an injury, go to class and just sit on the wall. At least you're talking to people, you're watching, you're still learning because you're getting to watch people. Yeah. But you're never more than an arm's length from your community.
Yeah, that's a hard one for me to do. I mean, I can encourage people to do that, but I know I'm like, I feel so hypocritical if I say go to class and sit there and watch, because I know somebody who doesn't do that, and that's me. Like I can't make myself just sit there and watch. It's so hard. So like if I'm there at class, I want to do something. I want to be on the mat at least trying to drill something. And even if I I'm glad we're doing butterfly guard a lot, as I can just sit down and roll up and posture up as far as I can. But even then I'll hurt myself with this dang knee, but it's like, just doing what you can to keep it moving, So it's really hard. It's a hard thing to do, because then I get in my own head, because I go to get out of my head, and I can't get out of my head unless the physical fitness piece kicks in, the exhaustion kicks in, the fatigue kicks in. That gets me out of then all of a sudden, it's like a clicking point in my brain. It's like you get a little faded, you're a little exhausted, you're a little tired, the warm-ups are over, boom. Now you're just here. Everything else is tuned out. And it's like, I notice it with my body anyway. And it happens with conditioning too. When I want to hit a dopamine hit in my brain, elite athletes will know what I'm talking about. If you really exhaust your body and you peak it, you'll get a dopamine fight or flight kicks on your brain, and same thing happens at cryotherapy, and that dopamine euphoric hit you get. I get that at kettlebells when I'm like probably the third, fourth, fifth round in, and you're exhausted and your heart rate's over 85% max, and you're just kicking it and you're still going, and boom, all of a sudden for that 20 seconds, man, it's the most euphoric feeling ever. And I chase that every day. Just that 20 to 30 seconds max, you'll get that euphoric feeling. I get that at Jiu Jitsu sometimes for like almost an hour. I'm in a euphoria of, this is fucking awesome. And it's like, I've never felt another sport like that. So that's why I love class so much, being on the mat. But I can only get it when I'm there, getting a little warmed up, fatigued, and going. So that's why if I'm sitting on the side, I'll be sitting there about all the things that, oh man, I wish I could have done that. Or man, if I did this. And then I think about all the things I suck at. And then once you start thinking about all the things you suck at, that's the worst thing to say to yourself, is that you suck, right? It's like, because you don't suck. You're just not as proficient at this movement as you want to be. But I'm worse. I'm horrible. I'm hard on myself. And then
aren't we all?
Yeah. And then you're in your own head and telling yourself you suck. And then it just transitions, and now you feel like shit. And you walk away from class like, man, I don't feel the same at all. You feel you're angry with yourself because you didn't train. And now you have that regretful feeling for going even. That's why I guess for me, it's hard to sit on the side,
We all just got to find the balance that works for us. But my advice is, especially if you're early into jiu-jitsu, you're going to realize that some of the aches and pains aren't injuries. They're just your body getting used to doing jiu-jitsu. But don't let those deter you.
Yeah.
If you feel like
they're just aches and pains.
If you feel like your back's not 100%, all right, fine. Come to class
and roll. Just flow.
Yes.
Yeah, just flow with it. Like, you can come to class a little bit broken up. Like I got a torn tendon and I'm at class. And one of my man Jordan's having surgery, I think, this next week in the beginning of August. He's freaking killing. How are you doing this move? I'm watching him like, he's got to be feeling pain, but he just does it anyway. It blows my mind. But if you come to class, your body will do so much more than you think it can, especially once you start flowing and you warm up. But if you have somebody getting you through the warm-ups properly, and drilling into positions properly, that's the shit. If you're at a class where somebody's just trying to beat you up in warm-ups, okay, maybe you're at the wrong school, bro. Somebody shouldn't be trying to beat you up in warm-ups. Yeah. But, if you had a school where you're getting warmed up properly, then, you should be good to go. Unless you're really injured. By the end of warm-ups, you're going to know if you're really injured or not.
Getting back to you on your journey. So how did the Marine Corps come to your attention?
Oh, we had a really awesome Marine Corps recruiter, and he was a combat veteran too. And, hindsight's 2020, that guy probably wasn't all there, right? He he had some stuff going on too, but he trolled the gyms and the athletes. He wanted to get all the athletes into the Marine Corps. So he looked at the wrestlers and the boxers, or not the wrestlers and the football players, and he was trying to, who can get to the, how many could he get to join the Marine Corps?
Before him, had you even considered the military?
I had, because my father and my grandfather had already served. And then we had like an adopted, my parents took a young man in when we were older. He joined the Army too. So that kind of made a big difference for him, kind of a thing. So I was like, I saw it as like, hey, it could be something good. And I was surrounded by veterans at the VFW growing up. So I had Vietnam veterans from an early age, with a lot of influence. And one of the things I got into with the VFW was like the sons of the VFW. So they have a little leadership things. You have to teach kids how to lead and do things for the community. So I was into that. My parents got me into that. And Les Nickerson was a good friend of my father. I'm still friends with him now, actually, too. But he taught me a lot about leadership. And when I was 11, and he was an officer in the Marine Corps, Vietnam veteran himself. And just the nuggets of knowledge I took from that, it really carried me into high school, and then how to be a good person, a good man, and how to stand up for yourself. You stand up and shake people's hand. You look them in the eye when you do that. Like basic stuff I got from him. My father was going through a lot of stuff then, so like he wasn't always there in that aspect of fatherhood, but he had a good backstop of veteran buddies that kind of were, and a lot of dudes that did a lot of evil stuff, but they were really good people, because he had some felon friends too that were really good to me. And as an adult, you need those friends. I know you're in law enforcement and all that, but you really do need somebody who's ready at any time to, hey bro, I need you tonight, man. And we're going to have to do some stuff. You need a person like that. Even if it's that person to say, hey bro, let's talk about this first. Let's go have a coffee first and work this out. Let's go to the gym for a little while. Let's go hit the kettlebells and work this out and see what you want to do. That's the jam right there. Because you know how many guys I've gotten to the gym and talked about them whatever they wanted to do? Because once you're exhausted, you're not as angry anymore. You're not as tired anymore. But that's a good vibe. So like having those people around you that are ready to do that for you, or ready to go anywhere for you. I don't know. I think you need those people.
You mentioned that you graduated high school early because of starting school early. Mm-hmm. Were you able to go into the Marine Corps right after graduation?
No, I'm glad you touched on that. Because I graduated high school at 17. So I needed my parents' permission. And the recruiter, he came and talked to my parents, and my parents were like, he was a good dude. You could talker. And but so they were cool with me joining, but then I got into some mischief, got into some trouble. Wild story. My father still tells it to this day, because it's like a comic book scene. But there was a college party happening right around the corner from our house. One of the buddies, he was a couple years older than us, and he was like a sophomore in college in my senior year. And so they were all partying up, having a good time. And we were coming back from another high school party that was boring, and it's like summertime. We'd already graduated. I was planning on going to the Marine Corps in August. And this is like June. I was like, hey, let's go check it out. Boom. So we head over to this party, and hey, I know you, Danny. I knew Danny because I'd grown up with him around the corner. So we talking to him, we're friendly with him. And then there were some guys at the party that didn't like my best friend, Reyes. And Reyes was getting into smoking nitrous and trying to drink beers. And so he's about to pass out. And then they wanted to fight Reyes, and Reyes couldn't even stand up. I'm, hey man, let me get him out of here. Like, he can't even stand, bro. You're not going to fight him. So I got him out of it's me, Reyes, and Juan, just three of us. Carry him like quarter mile down the street to my house. And a group, all of them are following us. Like a whole pack of college kids are following us. And it's like a whole bunch of fucking high tots. I say a bunch of collared shirts, polo. That's why it's out of my head. It's like a whole fraternity looked like it was coming at us. I'm like, what the hell is this? That's why I said it's like a comic book scene. Like, what is happening? And I'm like, I'm trying to get Reyes in the house. And this guy, Todd Mattis, he graduated high school with a couple years before with us. And he's a really badass, had a reputation. He's a really tough guy, yada, yada. Fought a lot of people, hurt people, all this stuff. So I knew who he was. He knew who I was just because I used to box. He said, hey, Marcus, I'm finding out he was that. I'm like, hey, man, he was just talking shit. He doesn't even know you. Like, he was talking shit. He thought somebody said, hey, who's looking for Ray? And he's Reyes. So he just said, hey, he was not a bit, we're just trying to get him in the house, bro. No, I'm fighting. I'm like, bro, he can't even stand up, man. Like, you're not fighting my friend right now. I'm sorry. I can't let you fight him. Well, I'm fighting you. He starts pushing me. I'm like, bro. I'm like, what is your problem? I'm not even trying to fight you. And this dude's bigger than me. He's a really thick monster dude. And I'm like, shit, this guy's a beast. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to freaking, I'm thinking in my head, I'm gonna run the 6-piece on him right now. It's because he's in my face. And then Reyes like lost his mind, sees this, and this is that brotherhood thing. It's like, you're messing with my family? What? And just lost his shit and like jumps up, his shirt's busted open, his big old beer belly's coming with his monster chest, right? And that's just in my vivid, like, what the heck? It's a comic book story. Like, what in the hell? Because we're all drunk. We're all intoxicated, right? And then I'm like, what in the hell? And he comes sprinting, and then Todd goes to go at him, and I grab Todd around the chest. So both of his arms are pinned to his side. And I just instinctively grabbed it because he was going at my friend. And Reyes has like a 5-yard head start because he was sitting on my steps. So he's like, comes running at him. I'm just sitting there watching him like, and then slow motion in my head, like, holy crap, he's gonna crush this dude. And I'm holding him. And I didn't even think like, and then boom, he hits him. And then this dude just levitated in my arms. And I'm like, and I just watched him hit the floor, and his face was just like a bloody mess, exploded because his nose was just crushed. And I'm like, and he hit the deck, and then it was like a melee because all of the buddies just jumped on me, hitting. I'm like, holy crap. And I fell on top of Todd, and he went to go at Reyes again. So I grabbed him around the back. And so I had what's called, the seatbelt. I had the seatbelt on, just holding on to him. I didn't have my hooks in because I didn't know what that was then. I was just trying to stay on top of him, like wrestling and pinning him. It's like, stay down. What the fuck are you doing? Just trying to hold him down. And I looking up, and some dude came to kick me, and the Reyes comes over and drops this dude. Bam! Instantly, the guy hits the deck. He's out. Some dude jumps on his back, and two guys on each one of his arms. And I'm like, oh shit. Reyes grabs this dude, throws him over his head into my mom's freaking bushes and gardens, also the rose bushes, knocks this dude out, turns around, goes after somebody else who's chasing Juan. Then Juan's fighting somebody else. I'm like, and I'm sitting there just holding this guy, like watching the whole show. Like, this is like wild. I'm watching a movie, right? This is crazy. And then Todd gets up and he turns around and punches me, but he's on the ground and I'm on top of him. And so then I hit him with like 4 or 5 punches. Like, what are you punching me for? Boom, 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 boom. Like, and then I jumped up off of him, and the Reyes is like screaming. And all of a sudden, it was the 3 of us were back to back in the front yard. And I'm like, let's go, let's go, let's go. So I got us in the house, closed the door, and I'm shutting the door. Like, what the fuck is going on? This is just wild. How did this happen? And then I look in the front yard, and this dude just laid out. Like literally 11 bodies just scattered all across the lawn into the street. And I'm like my mom's freaking trees is all busted up and everything. And I'm like, what the I'm like, dude, the cops are coming because I see the lights are on and the neighbors and the other and people are looking out the windows and stuff. I'm like, the cops are going to be here any minute, dude. And my word, I'm fucked. And I'm like, I'm 17. I'm supposed to be joining the Marine Corps, bro. I'm screwed. And then both of them are 18. And they're like, dude, we're going to get arrested. And I'm like, we're shit-faced. And Reyes is like, I've been doing drugs. He's like, and I'm like, bro, I'm like, what are you going to do? And they're at the front door. Next thing, they're all getting themselves up and there's 5 of them, still a bunch of them laid out. And they're still, come out here right now. And I look out the door and Todd's face is a mess. Like his nose is to the side of his face. And I'm like, hey bro, nobody more or less is fighting, man. We're done. Get out here. He's yelling at us. And then my dad comes out like, what the hell is going on? And he looks at me, Mark, what the hell's the matter? What happened to your hands? Because they're covered in blood. Because I hit him a few times, but his face was a mess already. Right. Said. And my dad's like, what in the heck? And he's like, what is happening right now? What are you two doing? And he's like, I'm like, hey dad, the cops are coming, man. They got to get out of here. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, I'm serious. He goes, Mark, get your friends out of here. And so I'm like, hey, boom, go. So they ran out the back door, and sure enough, the lights are in the front. But when I'm out the back door telling them to jump over the fence, I see the cop lights. I'm like, oh shit. So then my dad's like, hey, go to bed, Mark. I'm going to talk to the cops if they come to the door. So I go to bed, I try to lay down. I'm drunk. So now I lay down. I'm like, oh, man,
the room
starts spinning. I'm sitting like, holy crap, this sucks. And just when I think maybe they're not going to come get me, my dad opens the door. Mark, cops want to talk to you. I'm like, damn. So I get up and I'm like trying not to stumble as I walk down to there. I'm trying to get my shit together. I get over there and I'm talking to him. He goes, tell me what happened, young man. These kids out here said you jumped them. I jumped them. I'm like, officer, let me explain. I bring my hands up and they're a bloody mess. I'm like, let me explain. And I put them on my back. And I'm like, sir, we were at a party. I told him what happened. We were at a party a couple of houses down and we were just drinking beers and having fun with our friends. And then this guy came over to fight my friend, and he wanted to jump my friend, and they ended up jumping us in my front yard, sir. I'm like, there was 3 of us. Who were you here with? A couple of guys I just been hanging out with the past couple of days. What are their names? And I gave him a couple of names I have, and my dad's like looking at me like, what the frick? He didn't say nothing, but he's looking at me like, what? And he's like, because I knew I didn't want him going after my friends either, right? But I knew I was 17. So like, oh, he says you jumped them and he says this and the other. Sir, it's not the case. I'm like, well, he's got to go to the hospital, and there's a couple kids out here that have to go to the hospital, son. So this is serious. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, sir. I didn't know. They jumped us. I mean, they came back and they followed me home. And then they came to my front yard and jumped us. And so my dad's, hey, Mark, he's like talking to me. You tell me everything else happened at the party? Yeah, no, that's it. I didn't know what the hell. So then the cop's like, all right, son. So I tell you what, sir. He's like, and my dad already knew the officer. I don't know how, my dad knew a lot of people, but he knew the officer already. So he's like, I can release him to you right now. I got to write this up and we're going to have to go to court because it's assault and battery. And they're saying that your son jumped us, or they're saying it's assault and there's some damage. And he's like, so I could take your son into custody now. We could do it. Like, or I can write it up, or we can go to the station on Monday and do it. And he's like, hey, I'll bring my son to the station. We'll work it out. Cool. That's what I'm like, good to go. So I didn't have to get, but then I had to go work that out. And then I had an assault and battery charge pending. So I had to wait for that to all play out. And I didn't join the Marine Corps till like January of that year. So it took me a little, didn't go to college, just got a little felony thing that didn't happen. Assault and battery thing that never ended up happening.
So January, what year were you in the Marine Corps?
92.
And how was that experience for you getting in? And
into the Marine Corps, it was, I trained pretty hard, like, because I've been boxing and wrestling, and wrestling is one of the hardest things I ever do. As a young man too, is if you can make it through wrestling, you have the discipline to make it through anything. So it is the toughest workout you're ever going to get. Like, I thought boxing was hard, like conditioning wise, but man, wrestling was crazy sometimes. And plus you're in that room and you couldn't breathe. And at least at the gym, we had the fan, and then I was always able to punch somebody back. But anyway, so I trained really hard for it. And then it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be as far as physically fitness challenging wise. There were a few of us, I remember we graduated boot camp, they were like, I thought we would weed a lot more people out, or I thought it would be tougher than it was. And at the time, you're thinking, man, the Marine Corps is just soft. The Marine Corps is just weak. But then you go through your whole career and you're still at that top 10% the whole time until you start to break up a little bit. But even as a master gunny, I was still at the top. Even though I didn't run as fast, I still got my 20 pull-ups. I still got my freaking max crunch time or playing crunches before we did planks. I'm still able to do all that good stuff. And then I did the row and blew that out the water too. But it's like, yeah, okay, maybe I wasn't normal. Like, maybe you're not a normal person, that you like physical fitness a little more than most people. So that's why you're able to be physically fit. But mentally is where the challenge is at. That was way harder than I ever thought physically, because all those unknowns that you go through in boot camp, all the challenges that you don't see, all the times you don't know what you're waking up to the next day. Like, those are the mental challenges that get you ready for everything. If you look at it that way, all the challenges you're going to see, you're going to have all these unknown challenges at your next unit, all these things you're not going to know, but you're going to have to deal with, and you're going to have to improvise, overcome, and adapt at every place that you go. Because it's never going to be perfect. You know, you think that it is, and you think you're going to hit the fleet and everything's going to be awesome and everything's going to be cookie cutter like it was in the BST manual. No, it's not. It never is. But it's what you make of it. So if you're consistently pushing yourself, even if it's nothing else, that's why physical fitness is so important. Even if there's nothing else you can do to push yourself to get better, as a Marine or a first responder, physical fitness should be it. You should be making yourself physically fit to be able to handle the stresses of your job, you know? But
how did you take to the rules, the structure, the rigidity of the Marine Corps?
Better than I thought I was going to. I actually loved it. I loved the discipline because I didn't really have it growing up. I had some discipline and I knew right from wrong. My mother taught me a lot and I knew the basics, right? But I didn't really know what discipline really was. So once I found out, oh, wow, if you really can apply this to yourself, you can really do anything, and you can accomplish anything with the discipline to get the small steps done. That's what I liked about the Marine Corps, the basics in that. Just it gave me a discipline I didn't think I had in myself.
Going in, did you have an idea what you wanted to do in the Marine Corps?
No, I went in and I wanted to learn a skill. I was a young, misguided youth who really didn't know what he wanted to be when he grew up. And, you know, that carried on for about 20 years. Didn't really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. First 4 years in the Marine Corps, it went by so fast and it was so cool. And it just said, wow, I'm already here at the end. I was going to get out. The Marine Corps was downsizing then. And then I was in communications at the time. So I had a few options to get out, and I was going to go into law enforcement, but my wife at the time really didn't want me to do that. I had some opportunities at boxing that I gave up because of ex-wife as well. But you never know how your life would have turned out if you would have pursued that career, but it could have been worse. But
Did you box while you were in the Marine Corps?
Oh yeah. I fought pro a few times too. It was a good time. And I did a lot of smokers. Those are great. We fight, especially if you're on ship and you're traveling, you're training in other spots. It's great. Where was that?
You're talking about you gave up a boxing career and then just kind of coming to the end of your first enlistment.
Coming in, and then it was like, I'm going to stay in the Marine Corps. So I made the commitment I'm staying in, and they were downsizing. So my career planner was less than stellar at the time. And it wasn't like it is now. The re-enlistment process was improved way more than it did back in the 90s. They had 300 spaces, and like the first, if they had 300 spaces, the first 300 packages that came got the boat spaces. So if your package didn't make it, it just didn't make it. So it was like a free for all. It didn't matter the quality of the person they were trying to keep. So even if the first person coming through was a dirtbag, he was going to get the spot. And so like the boat spaces filled up pretty quickly for the high speed MOSs or the quality MOSs. I won't say administration was not quality, but at the time it wasn't sought after. At the time, because every other time afterwards it was always full. But everything happens for a reason. So maybe I was supposed to be in that MOS, right? So I went into administration thinking hey, if anything, I'll learn a new skill and bring some strength to this MOS while I'm in. Because like administrators are weak. That's what I thought, right? Pogues. But, and some are. But anyway, they put me in a grunt unit. So here I'm an administrator, and I went with Chip Dykes at the time from headquarters battalion. I went over there to him to learn how to be an administrator. And I'm very fortunate that I got to work with Chip Dykes, as he was my first mentor in the Marine Corps. Before mentorship was a thing, because flash forward, they said they actually assigned you a mentor later, and then this is your mentor. Before mentorship was even really a thing. He was just doing the leadership thing. And he took me from headquarters battalion Perso. He was going to 1-4, say, hey, I'm going to take you to this infantry unit. We're going to deploy together, and we're going to do Marine things. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. So here I am, and I got to learn a lot of infantry skills, and it was a good time because I got to go out and play infantry and play bad guy and do all the things you do in the field all week. But then I still had to come home and do all the administration stuff that was supposed to get done too. So that's why some people that come back and they're bitching, like, where's my awards or where's this? Bro, I've been in the field with you all week. I wasn't supposed to work on any of that. But the ignorant grunt thinks that I have magic powers or something. I didn't realize that would happen, but it's just wow. But I did learn a lot. I had a lot of great experiences and had a lot of great deployments with the infantry side of the house. Spent most of my time in as a youngster on that side. And then I got to migrate over to the air wing. I did a tour in Germany too, which was like the best tour ever after Iraq. Funny story how I got that one. I came from this deployment with 2-4, and you see there's a lot of names on the shirt. So like from the 04 to 07, we lost a lot of people. I was at headquarters for 04, and then this deployment here I was with these wonderful people here. I went to go visit Joseph J. Ellis at Arlington because that's where he was buried while we were deployed. I didn't get to pay my final respects to him, and I didn't feel like I had said my goodbye to him when we sent him home from Iraq. So I saw the monitor after I went and saw Joseph J. Ellis, and had my tears and my emotions, and I still do every time I go. And then I went and saw the monitor, and she said, "Hey man, I got a spot. I need somebody with your clearance. They can get your clearance in Germany by October." And I'm like, "What? Yeah, you can get a top. You're looking at you. You already you had a top secret, so I needed you, and you can. All I got to do is activate it, so you can get a top secret clearance. I need you here by this time." I'm like, okay, but I just got back from Iraq, man. I'm gonna get ready to deploy again. Yeah, I wanted to try to stay on the West Coast or try to stay with family. So, okay, cool. You want to stay on the West Coast? I got a deal for you too. I'll send you to the MEF, and you and your family can stay on the West Coast until whatever. I'm like, whoa, the MEF is getting ready to go back to Iraq for a year. And she's like, yeah, I know. Unless you're telling me I got to go back to Iraq for a year in like 6 months, or go to Germany in 2 months for 3 years. And she's, yeah, that's pretty much your options on the table. And I was like, man, that sounds like not too difficult of a decision to make. My Deutsch is nicht good, but let's go. She's like, okay, we'll settle up your reporting October 31st. I'm like, oh, great, by Halloween, let's go. Yeah. So
was this the start of your second enlistment, or were you coming to the end of your second?
I was already a gunnery starting then. This is like, way in, you know.
Oh, okay.
And then I got to go to Germany for 3 years. And then from there, I went to the air wing as a master. I got promoted from there to master sergeant, which blew me away. And really, that's when I really noticed that I had some issues, some survivor's guilt issues then, because I got promoted to master sergeant out of the below zone, which doesn't happen a lot, you know, but it's cool. Anyway, then I went to Miramar, And then went back from Miramar, and then our battalion commander was Lieutenant Colonel Glenn. He served with me also in Germany. Crazy enough, right? He was in AFRICOM. Flash forward again, and now he's in the Pentagon working for the Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, and he needs somebody with my skills, not only in administration, but the other intangible skills that I bring to the table that he needed. Hey, I need you up here for these specific things. And I'm like, I'm down, let's go. So now I'm working for the Assistant Commandant at the Pentagon. So I got to do a lot of cool stuff and see a lot of great things. The Pentagon's a wild place, and it's got a lot of history, and a lot of the connections I got to make gave me a lot of opportunities if I wanted to retire right from there too. And I still have some of those opportunities now, but it wouldn't be doing the things that I love to do. And it definitely wouldn't be doing the things that make me happy every day. I came back to Marine Corps Air Station Miramar for my final spot. And I told the Marine Corps then that this is my final spot. I promised my children, because I was having to move them, and it was really hard on my sons when I did move them, that I would never lie to them. And so I was going to move them one last time, and that's it. So then it was really hard. And the first year was rough on my son, Connor. And I said, hey man, I promise you I'm never going to do this to you again. So then it came time. And the Marine Corps said, hey, you got to move. I'm like, what do you mean? I got like 3 years, like 3 years till retirement. So I'm going to hit 30, bro. And they're like, no, man, you got to retire. Actually, like said 4 years. So I was like, I might be 4 years so I can get 30. What are you talking about? They're no, I'm going to stay here. I said, no, we need you to move one more time. You can't have you staying there for really no other reason other than they just didn't want me to stay there. Politics being what it was, somebody wanted the spot, somebody was shuffling, this and the other. So I was like, 3 years is what you're supposed to do. So it really would have put me in a bad spot. So I said, hey, I told you I was staying. I'm going to retire. So there's a lot of stuff that happened because of that, but whatever. I ended up retiring out of the Marine Corps because it pissed some people, and it did make some people mad, ruffle some feathers, but I stayed a little bit there because I wanted to retire out of California. I didn't want my sons to have to move again. And that was February of 2020 when my retirement ceremony happened. And then March of 2020 happened was COVID. And I went into a pretty dark place. I didn't think I was going to struggle like I did. I didn't think I was going to hit me like it did. Maybe that's your own ego. You can conquer anything, right? But then when it hits you, that's why I call it the silent killer, because it hits you when you're not even expecting it. When you feel the most confident sometimes, and you feel like you're bulletproof and you're invincible, but then something happens that throws you off your game. Now you're not feeling so invincible. COVID happened. My first VA position went away because the school collapsed. My secondary position went away, and then my other position went away as a clerk went away. So my primary, secondary, and tertiary plans fell apart. So I was lost for a little while, and you get in your own head. And like I said, when you're in there, you don't see anything else. You don't think about reaching out to anybody. So that's the one thing I like. It's not bad. You should reach out, especially if you already know you're hurting, and you already know you're hurting. You're feeling some kind of way about something. Tell your friends you're hurting. Like, tell your friends you're going through that. Tell your closest homies that you're going through that. Like, if your wife is freaking like passing away and you're dealing with it by yourself, that's a horrible place to be. You know, let your friends know you're going through that kind of stuff. If your father passed away, your mother passed away, something, your wife cheated on you, whatever, don't go through that stuff by yourself. You know, it's just the power of sometimes just talking to somebody about it really helps. But when those first initial wounds happen and you let it fester, that's when it turns into the silent killer, because you're not going to tell anybody about something that happened 2 months ago. You're not going to talk to anybody about something that happened 3 months ago. You're not talk to anybody about something that's still hurting you that happened 10 years ago. You know, you're not going to bring that kind of shit up. You're just going to gut it, right? And you don't want to deal with it. And then it festers, and then it grows like a fungus, and it corrupts your thinking. And then it catches you when you're not ready for it. And it has you thinking that you're not worth it, and you shouldn't be here. And that everybody here's on your shirt, they should be here more than you should. And they matter more. And they would have made much more of a difference. And you know what? Maybe they would have. And like Joseph J. Ellis, maybe he would have. He's an amazing fucking dude. But what kind of a man would I be if I didn't try? So like, all you can do is try to be a good person and try your best to live for them. And that's what I do now. I try to live and be the person that I would want them to see me being, that person they knew I had the potential to be, the best coach, Maybe I'm never going to be the best athlete because the injuries will keep coming, but I'm going to keep trying, and that's it. You just keep showing up, right? And you keep getting better.
Was there ever a point, or have you gone to talk to somebody professionally? And what was the catalyst that was finally pushed you to that point?
I see my wife needing help. When I was really struggling too, and then I was hurting so bad that I couldn't even help her. And she's struggling now. Now I'm going through my shit and she's going through hers. And now she's transitioning too. She's a military spouse. She used to be a wife of a master gunnery sergeant of active duty in the Marine Corps. Now it's a wife of a retiree, and the roles are different. He's always here at the house. He's always here now. So it's like a united front at the house, where before it used to be just her all the time. So now she's going through her own stuff that I never saw. I never knew. And then she was hurting and needing help and dealing with some stuff in her own family and things that happened. And when you see your partner hurting, and I knew I was hurting, and then I had to figure out how to help her. How do I help her? And the best way is to help myself. Is to start fixing my own shit and dealing with my own problems and being a better husband and being a better father and being a better man. And then getting her back to counseling. And then getting me back to counseling. And I reached back out to Dominique. She was our military family life counselor at Marine Corps Forces Air Station Miramar, right? And she was awesome because she actually cared. And you don't really get that sometimes. Civilian employees come in and oftentimes they're just there to collect their check and do as little as possible, but still check the box. Like Office Space, if you ever seen that, I'm just going to do just enough to not get fired. That's kind of how a lot of civilians do it I've seen, I had experience with. They'll show up, do just enough to check the wickets, and you tell me what my billet description is, and I'm going to fill it, and that's it. But she wasn't like that. She would go out of her way to give classes to the NCOs on better communication skills, on how to deal with your problems, on how to mentor people out of their own problems. And she had like this whole book of classes that she can give. Like I was like blown away. She came in and was like, this is what I can do for your people. And I'm like, this is awesome. Let's go. And then so she's the only person I ever found that did that. So I still had her contact information. So I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm looking for a therapist in this area. And she said, hey, I'm in private practice now. And there it is. I said, oh, cool. Can we come see you? and then I went and saw her. And now I'm actually, just because she's in Riverside and I'd rather have my wife just seeing her and me have my own person. I was seeing somebody while I was on active duty, who's in Temecula. Miss Sonia is awesome. And I see her now, therapist on the regular. She helps keep it real. Yeah, it's good stuff.
You mentioned starting to recognize some of the symptoms while you were still on active duty. When you made your promotion, I believe you said to Master Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
What was it specifically that kind of manifested itself?
I was drinking a lot to mask the pain of losing my hero, Joseph J. Ellis. I was masking that survivor's guilt of the fact that he was gone and I wasn't. And a lot of people, I wasn't the only one. I'm not the only one who had to struggle through that. So a lot of people were affected by losing him. Him, Jennifer Parcell, and Jimmy, who was our interpreter that day. We lost him to a suicide bomber in the Al-Anbar province of Iraq, in the middle of the Hemland province. Oh my goodness sakes. Just kidding. We were down on the Euphrates River, and he got hit by a suicide bomber with Gulf Company. When we lost him, I was in a fog, right? So just keep keep accomplishing the mission. And I kind of felt like he was there, even though he wasn't. And so everything I was doing, I felt like I was still answering to him. I had to make this happen for him. I had to get this report for him. I had to get this information from these first sergeants for him. I had to have these first sergeants do this for that for him. So I had to step up in a lot of duties that the sergeant major usually did while we were in combat. A lot of administrative duties that the sergeant major of a battalion has to do. I had to step up and do them. I do my job pretty well. So I guess I did pretty good. I got an end of tour award for it, for my combat fitness deployment. I had an extended, it wasn't just a combat fit rep. So like I found out on that board that year, Sergeant Major Kent I still have a relationship with that dude now, retired sergeant major of the Marine Corps. He went to the promotion board and said, hey, we've been looking at a lot of B billets, but a lot of people haven't been able to go to B billets recruiting and drill instructor because they've been on deployments. I was one of those. So I really want to look at people that have done stuff on deployments first. So it's people that have done things on deployments, gone out of their way at the tip of the spear, gone out of their way to make a difference in combat. I want those people looked at first. So boom. My fitness report got pulled from the below zone, me and somebody else, I guess, to look at for the open boat space to master sergeant. And again, I was in the below zone, so I didn't even think I was getting it. So I was just partying. I even took my photo, and just because you're in the below zone, I was like, I don't even need to take my photo. And my buddy, now retired Master Sergeant Kwan, nah, man, let's go, bro. You never know. You never know. They might look at you. And I'm like, hey, I'm in the below zone. I'm not even, no, come on, we got to do it. We got to do it. We got to set the example for your Marines. And I was like, I think I was literally hungover because I'd been drinking all the time. We drink I was like, all right, dog, let's go. Got my uniform together, roll in. We're trying to get it done as fast as possible. My man's is here is a very professional dude. He's like, no, dude, hey, come on, you look, you get your ribbons right. Look at your shit. And he's a former drill instructor, so he's like taking his time, making me look fucking beautiful. Took my picture. And my fitness report is why I got promoted, right? So I didn't find that out right away. But then I got promoted to Master Sergeant, and it was in my head, wait a minute, I wasn't even supposed to be looked at. So I was feeling guilty that why do I deserve this? And I was really drank myself into a stupor because I didn't feel like I deserved this. I'm here and they're not. And I'm promoted out of the below zone because what? Because I got an award in combat? Oh, cool. Then flash forward, I was a Master Sergeant at the senior enlisted PME, 6-week course in Quantico. And I ran into a lieutenant colonel there who knew me when I was a sergeant, corporal actually, and he was a lieutenant. And he said, hey, I sat on your promotion board. I'm like, shut the front door, you know? And he said, I haven't seen him in such a long time. I was talking, yeah, it was wild. I saw your picture code. I'm like, God, hey, I know that guy. That was Corporal Dawson. And so we were just talking, and I'm not supposed to talk to you about the promotions, but I know what got you over. What are you talking about is your combat fitness report. He said that extended fitness report you got was well written, and it was awesome. And it had everything laid out so well, and I'm really proud of the things you had to do. And I was like, that hit like so fucking deep, because I was like, I went back and read it, and then even in it, because I never really read it, right? It's just my fitness report. Like a lot of Marines care about that kind of shit, but at the time I was dealing with some stuff. So I was like, oh, cool. Great, thank you. All right, just got promoted to gunny. Cool, I'm already promoted. I can give a shit about this fit rep. You know what I mean? It's like, good to go. I didn't care.
Made it.
Yeah, I didn't care. I was like, whatever. But then I read it, and then the things it said about stepping up in the absence of our sergeant major who was killed in action, and then the other things I had to do, it really hit me in my feels, and I didn't feel worthy again, because here I am, because we lost him when it should have been me, right? In your head, you think, even though rationally how you feel, you make yourself think that, but you feel guilty for it, and that hate made me feel guilty even worse, and that made the survivor's guilt even worse. But it made me, but then I got selected to Master Gunny, and I was planning on getting out, right? And I was like, nah, man, yeah, you got to do what you can to make a difference now. Now's your chance to really do some shit, to really try to make an impact, to the sphere of influence is better. So everybody who you work beneath, at least your last few units should be fire, and your Marine should be able to do some cool shit. So I tried. Dealt with some toxic stuff at the end, some toxic leadership for sure. The Marine Corps definitely deals with that, like everybody else does, but we struggle and we move on, right? Keep it moving.
Sometimes that's all you can do is just put that next foot in front of the other one and keep moving forward. I'd put you on the spot a little bit in where I want to go with this. I understand survivor's guilt's a real thing. I understand that we all put ourselves in positions and go, why them and not me?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot better at dealing with that now.
What advice do you have for somebody who's in that struggle right now
how would you want them to look at you right now? Because I deal with that. I deal with that now, and I tell myself that sometimes. And sometimes, man, that weight fucking carries, and sometimes it hits so fucking deep. And again, you start sinking. And if you don't have somebody that sees and you don't catch it yourself, you'll be sinking. Now you're all of a sudden sitting in your truck outside of work, like, what the fuck, bro? You know, sitting there for a minute, like, how is this even right? You know, this is bullshit. And then what would you want them to see you doing? So I think, what would Joe Ellis want to see me doing right now? What would Jennifer Purcell, what would she want me to be teaching the young women of this area now? What would she want me to be showing these young ladies right now? Like, what would Chavez want to see? What would Sergeant Alcaz want to see me doing? You know what I mean? He always wanted to fight me, bro. Just because he mixed martial arts, we never got a chance to just scrap. And he's an athletic motherfucker. It's probably good for me, right? But like, he would have wanted to see me going for my jiu-jitsu freaking championships. He would have wanted to see me pursuing those dreams. He wouldn't have wanted to see me sitting in my car fucking crying. He sure as frick wouldn't want to see me sitting, spinning my 357 and seeing just how well it feels in your hand. He wouldn't want to see that. I lost my cousin in December, and that's why like I'm really big on mental health. I lost him to suicide. And I'm trying to get more people, and I like it that it seems like more people are talking about it now than ever, and I like that. Keep doing it. Keep talking about it, because don't make it a trend. If you're hurting, say something before you slip too deep into that hole, because by the time it's too deep, you won't be able to say anything. And then now you're sitting there, and like my cousin's sitting there, and he's already not in the right frame of mind. And I have a lot of opinions about COVID and the vaccination and whatever, but he wasn't the same person after that. He really wasn't. And he got sick, and he had some things happen, and then he really wasn't the same person. And then I would have never seen my cousin blowing his head off so his wife could come home and find him. I could never see him doing that ever in my life, person I knew, right? I couldn't see that. So like when you're in the hole, you don't see people that you could have, because he could have called me, bro. Like, that's my cousin, man. I've known him since I was a little guy. And I was a suicide prevention coordinator at Germany when I was stationed. I thought that was the most comical fucking thing ever. You give me this billet as a suicide prevention coordinator? What? But again, the universe is crazy and things happen for a reason. I needed the knowledge. I needed those classes that I had to go to. I needed those conferences that I needed all that information for myself. If nobody else, I needed it for myself to like, dude, man, wow, this is really hitting. You're dealing with some shit, and it helped me talk myself off the ledge before I even got there sometimes. So that, like I said, the universe is wild. That was a billet that I got. Well, in Germany, I had to learn a lot. And like, if you don't put yourself consistently in the right spots, and if you don't try to put yourself on the mats, or put yourself in the right rooms with the right people, if you're not trying to do that, you're already failing yourself. And like, you have to find what your purpose is, or what brings you joy every single day. And this is why I love the gym. This is where the magic's at for me as being a coach. And I'm not just trying to sell you a fitness membership, right? But I do want you to work out. Whether you come to work out at my gym or not, I do want you to work out every day. Because for a lot of people, that's an escape every day. And I didn't realize it until the past few weeks. I've seen people and they're sparring it on a Friday night, and I hear them vent and they bitch and they complain about their jobs and their things all week. But then here they are sparring, right? They're not complaining at all. And they're having so much fun punching each other in the face, and they're kicking the crap out of each other. And maybe they don't look like professional fighters because they're not. They're everyday people who are just practicing, trying to learn some self-defense skills, and they're going to be a lot better off than the person who's talking shit on the couch doing nothing, And then they're also out of their head, having a great time with and getting a community of people that are having fun with them doing the same stuff. That's the jam. Like, that for me is like, you find that thing that makes you happy. And a lot of people find their happiness at the gym every day. Sometimes that's all they get. This is what really blew me away. That really, really made me know I love what I'm doing now, being in the gym every day. Because sometimes that's all you're going to get. That hour that they're there with you, that's their happy spot for the next fucking hour. And that's all they're going to get. The rest of their day is probably going to suck. And it's sad. Sometimes I think about, damn, that sucks. But it's true. This is their happiest part of the day. Their job, it sucks. It's not something they want to do forever. Not something they're doing as their passion. They're grinding at something that they hate, but they have to do it to put food on the table. So now they're going home and they have to do all these other chores or going to other stuff that they still don't want to have to do. Or they're in a relationship that they don't like or whatever. And then they come to the gym, bang, for that 60 to 90 minute getaway. And I can help them do with that. And I can make that experience awesome. If I can make it better, that's more magical for me. I love it. And I feed off that energy too. It makes going to work a pleasure.
The flip side to that, though, is if you are experiencing the dark spaces, whatever it is, force yourself to give yourself that hour. Figure out that way that you make that hour happen, as opposed to, I just won't go to the gym.
Right.
If that's your happy place, or whatever your happy place is.
You might be happy, but you might be going for a walk.
make that hour of that day so that you can get through the other 23 hours.
Yep. Yeah. Make it happy and focus on yourself in those times. I love the gym. I love that part of it. And it's hard. Anybody who tells you it's easy, it's not. As much as I love it, it's still hard. As much as I love Jiu Jitsu, it's still hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do as an old man on the mat, getting beat up all the time. And this is why a lot of people, in my opinion, quit. And counter that with psychology of why they quit at blue belt. Most people have never really accomplished something as hard as or difficult as making it to blue belt. And you don't really understand how difficult it is until you're trying to get it. You think it's easy sometimes. You get, like David Goggins once said, you watch some movie about some badasses, right? You get all motivated. And then you go, I'm going to go get this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Heck yeah, I seen this movie. I was awesome. I could do that. So you're motivated for it. And you show up to class. But now it's the 5th round of sparring and you're getting smashed in side control and you're not motivated anymore, right? You got to be disciplined to keep pushing and go back again, knowing you're probably going to get smashed again. A whole lot more before you get better. A lot of people don't have the discipline to keep pushing themselves back into that spot. So they go until they can accomplish something, a goal. Now they get the blue belt and now they can rest of, hey, at least I did something. At least I made it to blue belt. People are like, how long have you been training jiu-jitsu? Yeah, for 4 years. Oh, really? What's your belt? I'm still a white belt. What? Well, I made it to blue belt, but I had some injuries. Oh, okay. It's people can always have that out. They give them an excuse. I made it to blue belt. I got my blue belt and this. I got to blue belt and I got my blue belt. I got my blue belt. You know what I mean? And something happened, but they got that. They had that sense of accomplishment first, and then before they decided to quit. That's why a lot of people quit, I think.
I remember early on, there was a guy rolling in class with me, and he got promoted to blue. He remembered the exact number of classes that it took for him to get there.
Wow.
And then poof,
Gone.
I was like, wow. I mean, you tracked it so much that you could tell me how many classes you went to before you got your belt and then just disappeared.
I used to see people put the dates on the back of their belts. I thought about doing that. And I did it when I first got promoted to blue belt. Then it's whatever.
Don't look at my white belt over there then.
I didn't do I have my belts from like my white, my blue and my purple, right? And I'm going to have my brown, of course, and black, but I have a plaque that my wife got me when I retired, and it had my white belt, a blue belt in it, and then like the rest of the spaces that you can fill. It's kind of cool.
Challenge to work for.
Yeah, something and it is, what was this quote that said on it? To know a Marine is exceptional, or to be one, to know a Marine is something, to be one is exceptional, or some trash. It was really motivational. I wish I would have remembered. I'm not doing my wife justice. But she did some good, it was a really good retirement plaque.
I saw this cool picture recently, and it was basically a timeline, and it representing, learning jiu-jitsu. And the way the picture represented itself is your black belt was way down here to where if you're looking at the picture, almost looks like at the beginning of your knowledge journey. And just to drive home the fact that just because you make it to black belt does not mean that you've learned everything there is to jiu-jitsu. Yeah. The knowledge that there's still to come is such a long road.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about that, and I can see how that plays out with you think you knew what you were doing, and then you got your black belt and realized that you didn't know what you were doing. I hear people say that quite often, and in like having a lot of experience in boxing, kickboxing, like we did the Marine Corps martial arts thing. That's fun, but once you get to black belt, now a lot of people never really had to teach until they get their black belt. A lot of people, they get all the way through. Maybe they weren't teaching classes the whole time. Maybe they were competitors, but they don't have to teach and mentor somebody until they get to be a black belt. So now they got to go back and relearn everything because they got to teach everybody from the background all the way up. And they got to really learn it so they can teach it. And I think when you teach, like my buddy John Romero told me, well, every time you teach something, you're going to get just a little bit better at that, whatever you taught, whatever it is. It could be freaking, I don't know, high-speed internet. But you're going to have to get yourself spun up on high-speed internet. Right. So you're going to get a little bit better at that subject matter. So now you got to teach, if you're teaching something I suck at, like the De La Hiva. Oh, great, cool. I'm going to refresh myself on the De La Hiva so I get a little bit better at the De La Hiva before I have to teach it,
Damn, this hurts my knee.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
You've already mentioned it. So let's talk about We Defy. How'd you come to get connected with We Defy?
Well, first it was, we had the Mission 22. I saw a lot of advertisements for Mission 22, but I didn't like how they were allocating their money with how much goes toward the actual making a difference to the nonprofit. I didn't really like how that was allocated out. And another friend of mine, Chris Gallagher, he's actually a really good dude. He does struggle too. He struggles with PTSD, and he has some stuff that he has to deal with, and sometimes he has to flip back, right? And he's one of those dudes. Like if you don't see it and he's not around, right, and all of a sudden he's in the hospital. I'm like, oh, damn, bro, because you didn't see him slip and now he's in the hole. But he's the one who talked to me about We Defy and what their mission was. And he talked to me about it, man. Hey, I really believe in them. You'd be great for it. You'd be great for it. And he talked to me about it for a while. And so, you know what? Let me do a little research on what is We Defy. And oh man, these guys are awesome. So then I just started repping them, like wearing their stuff, and then hey, advertising for them, because I thought that was a great mission to get veterans to the mat. It's great. And then Kelly Slavo, he introduced me to We Defy Foundation. My buddy Cage, he's a good dude. But Kelly, he introduced me to the We Defy Foundation and said, hey, this is what, if you really want to make a difference, saw him at one of the events, and this is what you can do. And so, boom, I signed up to be an ambassador. And you don't get paid. A lot of people get a misconception that, oh, you're getting paid because you're representative for We Defy. No, you don't get paid, bro. The whole organization is volunteer. And it's a pretty big organization. We're doing a lot of good things now. It's getting pretty huge, right? But it's all volunteer. The best thing you get out of it is a tax break, because you can donate to it. And any function that you go to at We Defy, you run it as a tax write-off. Learned a lot of stuff this last couple of years, and it's freaking awesome. So like my tournaments, tax write-offs they could use. It's good stuff. But so that's what my lesson learned was, that finally getting a benefit out of We Defy Foundation is the tax write-off. I just really recently learned about that. Oh crap, I could have been doing this the past couple of years, man. But whatever. The benefit you really get is those messages you get from people about how jiu-jitsu saved them. Jiu-jitsu got them out of their head. And if it wasn't for jiu-jitsu, I don't know if I would be here today. That's the magic part. That's the yes. The more I started trying to rep We Defy and bringing them out, the more people started talking to me about, hey, that's awesome. I think that's great. So like I said, energy. So the energy just kept building. And then I enjoyed going to the events and talking to people about jiu-jitsu and why I like jiu-jitsu. And I found that I'm not alone. And then you get that, you said the community, more people are dealing with stuff, and they use jiu-jitsu as a coping mechanism for stuff that they're dealing with. And it is a great, amazing coping mechanism especially for depression, or people that have depression who runs in their family. And it's something it is inherited sometimes to people. And if you have that, put positive things in your life that are going to get you back out of your head and put you in a positive headspace. And jiu-jitsu is one of those things for me.
What's for you going forward? I know you mentioned probably a partnership with the UFC and Skill Bridge, trying to get that thing going. Anything else?
I'm trying to get that on the table, because I think that would be great. It'd be a great opportunity. One, for me to be able to still teach, because you have to go teach classes on base, how to be a coach, what we're going to be bringing to the table, kind of a thing. And then, you still get a chance to mentor somebody and how to be a proper coach. So that gives me something I like to do. That's part of my energy cycle, returning back to the universe. That's why I enjoy coaching so much, because you get to help people and you really get to see it now. Not I know it's a delayed gratification, but sometimes you see so much difference in a week. Or when you're teaching boxing, you can see a lot of difference if you're a good coach anyway. If you're a decent coach, you'll see a lot of difference that you can make in somebody in 1 hour. They probably don't even think they got any skills, but you can have them walking away feeling confident about, oh man, I can actually put together some stuff. And it just giving somebody that little bit of confidence is a great feeling. I'm trying to do that. We're trying to cultivate another self-defense class, mainly for women. I don't want to lead it because I'm not a woman, but I think it's a great thing for us to have. A lot of the women at UFC have been asking for a self-defense class, but to help them against what are our standard attacks that happened. Attacks from behind, attacks from the side out of the bushes, somebody ambushing you going to your car, somebody ambushing you boxing you in an elevator. And what are the common self-defense things you can do? What are the basic, quick, fast strikes that you can rehearse if you're in those situations? So I'm putting together a class for that. That should be fun. I'm sure we'll get no men allowed. So I don't even want to be there all the time. I just want to be able to start the class off. Hopefully we find a purple belt or above. Let me say it again, purple belt or above at jiu-jitsu, who know some basics and fundamentals of striking. They can help out with this. That would be awesome, because right now we don't have that at UFC. And that would really help us put together a class, and it would be great. I think it would be money. And that person, if they have good leadership skills, they can't be any toxic person just coming in because they're a purple belt. They actually got to have good leadership skills and a good vibe on them, so they can put together a positive vibe for these women in the area that they can go in a safe space and learn how to defend themselves. Like you have it at jiu-jitsu a lot, but I'm talking about with some punches, strikes, kicks to the knees, the grab, twist, pull, all the good stuff. All the good stuff that the attackers don't want you to know. All the joint manipulation that the attacker wouldn't want you to know. All the small joint manipulation you can put on their face to create space that they don't want you to know. All the pressure points that you can hit on the end that they don't want you to know about, right? That's why they're not allowed to go to clash, freaking creeps. Anyway.
Any last pieces of advice you want to throw out there to veterans making their transition out, struggling?
Whatever your passion is, again, try to keep a toe in the water of it, keeping something positive in your life every single day, no matter how small, something positive to look forward to. That makes a world of difference. Because even if your whole day sucks and you only got 1 hour to make yourself in a good spot or good happy place, you should invest in it. And if it's something like fitness that you enjoy, maybe you need some help, invest in it. And if it's like you were running a podcast, running a show, you invested in it and it's helping people, and you're helping people too by giving people something to listen to. For the short timers getting out, I like it that you have those. We probably should maybe dial that in more. How would you do that? Like give more positive tips like that. That's good stuff, man. When I see those come across, hey, if you're 6 months out, and even if you've said it before, like consistently saying it over and over again, every few episodes, that's the jam. Cause like people are like, forget when you're 3 months away from you retiring or separating out, you should be already having your VA claim ready to go and done. And like, wait a minute, my claim, yeah, you should have your stuff together, bro. And everything should be ready to roll. And how do I know this? I was a freaking administrative chief, bro. And I was a master gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps at the tip of the spear. I wasn't only part of the 1% that can say they earned the title of Marine Corps. But of that 1%, how many of them can say they made it all the way to the top as an E9? That 1% is way smaller, right? So I got some skills at what I'm doing. If you 90 days prior, you have your stuff already ready to roll, you're going to be good. Because mine was. It came back perfect. I was like, retired, very next time. And your stuff's will be squared away. Lean forward on that because the Marine Corps won't care about you after you're gone. Lean forward on your disability stuff before you get out. Lean forward on prepping yourself up for if you're going to college, what school you're going to. Don't wait till the very last minute to apply. Don't wait till the very last minute to set yourself up. Know what you're going to do. And if you don't, that's your first mission. What are you going to do when you get out? If you don't have anything on the plate, you're setting yourself up to get in that hole. If you're just going with the flow and figure itself out, you're setting yourself up to be in that hole that is depression. And you're just like, how did I get here? Well, you didn't set yourself up for good things, did you? You didn't look out for yourself to do good things, did you? Like, even if you did, like I had 3 plans of attack laid out when I got out of the Marine Corps and all 3 of them went to shit. Right. And I found myself doing nothing. And I thought that was going to be cool. Like, hey, I had so much responsibility for a long time. I didn't want to have any responsibility for a while. I said, just want to hang it and just do me. And then you get in your own head and you got to have a purpose in doing something. And I've said this before, like a man without a purpose is lost. It's true. Even if that one small purpose is just being a good person every day, even if that is your only purpose, I'm going to be a good man today. What comes with that? Well, sitting at home on the couch doing nothing is not it. What is a good man going to do? Do you have a job yet? No, well, then you probably should look for one. But if you can find a job that sparks your passion, that's even better. But first, you got to find a job to put food on the table, to take care of you, and then to take care of a family. That's what you should focus on, being a good man. Go to the gym, get yourself in shape. If you're standing in front of somebody to have a job, how do you look standing in front of them? Do you look like a sloppy piece of shit? Then I'm not going to hire you, right? Like something that I get a lot of hate, I feel, for but saying it out loud. Men and women of uniform, officers of the law or military members, specifically Marines. If you look like a fat piece of shit in uniform, chances are you're going to perform like a fat piece of shit when you're doing your job. And I say that to Marines all the time. You look like a turd. You see the fat guys who can run sometimes, but most of the times they're not going to be performing well. They're also the ones who are tired because they've been working 8 hours straight and I'm exhausted. 8, bro, we got another 4 to go before we even, that's 12-hour days minimum, bro. What are you tired for? What's your problem? Because you're not even physically fit. You're not able to push hard. And I saw that all the time. And I would consistently be able to work 12, 16 hours a day. Why? I'm consistently pushing myself and in shape all the time. And I saw that with senior leaders in the Marine Corps, not just the meatheads. No, man, I saw 4-star generals in the gym at 5 a.m. because it's the only time they had to do it. But it was that important. 4-star general, you think, oh, I can chill. I can skate when I'm a 4-star. No, the responsibility is heavier and they do more work. And then he's there from 5 a.m. until 7 p.m. minimum. That was General Paxton. His shortest day I've ever seen him work in the 2 years I worked for that man. 5 a.m. and he went home at 7 p.m. one time. Every other night he was there till 8+. I'm like, man, this guy's crazy.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing your story. And I wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you watching. But before you go, if you like the video, please hit that subscribe button. Also, any comments are appreciated. Thank you.